So I guess some more of our theories going forward and the cinema because it's just been announced officially today that the Doctor Who finale will be in the cinema. So it's going to be interesting to see what people do with that. Are they going to miss Wishworld and watch it at the cinema, or are they going to watch it anyway and just watch it again at the cinema? But I just want to make things clear to anyone watching that anything we say, we do not work for Doctor Who. These are just our theories and our optimistic theories. We're just having some fun. So, in the last episode, we probably got a lot of the theories right, but it doesn't mean we know nothing. We're just having fun. But yeah, it's going to be fun. But this week, it seems every week we're joined by a new person actually, because last week it was Josh's first time,
Hi
and
everyone.
then Josh is back.
Hi
Josh
everyone.
is here to stay. And Jack is
Yay!
here as well. So Jack, many people don't know who you are. You're quite new. So would you mind doing a little introduction of yourself?
So yes, hello. My name is Jack. I am a filmmaker, and I'm also a long-time Whovian as well. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to become a filmmaker. I also have a business called Jack Turner Productions. Recently, I just made a horror film called The Abyss Below, which actually features briefly Lua in it. And yeah, the reason why I want to be part of this podcast is because I've actually been watching the reviews and I've been really engaged by it and loved the theories. But yeah, that's my little background.
Do you
Brilliant.
have any theories yourself, Jack, to give with us today?
Yeah.
I do. I do.
Okay, it's gonna be a good session then, folks.
I do very much indeed, and I think you're gonna like them.
Ooh,
It's gonna be very interesting. Because
indeed.
each week people come up with new theories and it's really really good.
Mhm.
Before we get into the we're just going to go in from straight off. We got cinema. So, does anyone here not wanting to go to the cinema when it's out? So, are we all wanting to go?
Oh God! Oh God! Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So that's brilliant. So I'm going to go to each of you. I'm going to go start with James because he's first left on my screen. I'm not picking James in particular. It's just because if he probably joined the Zoom call first. That's how these orders work. So we're going to go from you, James, and then we're going to go whoever I call next. So James, tell me, are you go when you go to the cinema? Obviously, the tickets ain't out yet. Tickets are out on May 1st, 10 a.m. If anyone wants to know. So James, tell us, are you going to miss Wishworld, or are you going to watch it anyway and then watch it at the cinema as well as the reality war?
Hi everyone. Yes. This time I think I will miss the penultimate episode. Last year, it was one of those where you had a bit of an idea of what was going to happen in the Legend of Ruby Sunday. This time around, I want to sort of be completely disconnected from everything that goes on. Um, and that's one of the real tricky things I think with this whole release at the cinema is the fact that having to miss that penultimate episode means you've got to completely distance yourself from social media for an entire week, which is very hard to do when you use social media for other things other than Doctor Who. Um,
Yeah,
so
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
it's gonna be challenging, but I think if you're gonna pay to have that cinema experience, which is something that I want to do, and it sounds like that certainly the others want to do, then I want the full experience. I don't really want. I'd like to go into it blind. That may or may not happen, depending on how much um, get spoiled on social media or by word of mouth. It's quite difficult for me as well because I have co-workers who are big Doctor Who fans as well, so I'm gonna have to tell them to keep it zipped for that whole week as well. But I definitely want to go and have that cinema experience again. And this time I'm going to take the Fez with me because last time I felt like I was the only one who didn't wear one.
Yeah, yeah,
hey, there's the
yeah,
Hey.
yeah.
I don't have mine.
It can't stay on me because it falls off because of headphones. So but yeah, I had that problem last year, James, because I went into it blind, and I don't know if anyone else did here. But I went into it blind, but I found out Sutek's return from an email. So obviously I have to go on my emails, and I found out because I subscribed to Doctor Who on my email. So that's how I found out. I was did quite well on social media. I wasn't on it, and I didn't know what he looked like though. I didn't know what Sutek looked like, but I knew I saw the word Sutek. So.
But this is the problem. You can distance yourself from social media all you like, but it's highly possible you're still going to find out anyway.
Yeah.
That's why I wish
Yeah.
that they kind of maybe released it as a double episode at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I do wish that they would have done.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're in the mindset at the moment that you're going to go into it blind and miss Wishworld.
Yeah, certainly.
Okay. So Jack, what are you planning to do at this moment in time? Are you going to miss Wishworld, or are you just going to watch Wishworld anyway?
I am not going to miss Wishworld. Last year when we found out that there was going to be a cinema screening, I was actually, little fun fact, day one into principal photography on my film, and straight away I said to my cast and crew, right, we're taking a 10-minute break because I got to book tickets. So I booked tickets, and I was contemplating whether to wait until the cinema screening, because obviously back last year they did a midnight thing. Instead, this year it's now 8 a.m., which I don't know if it's the right move or if it's this good or if it's the bad move. I'm not too sure, but no, I won't be missing Wishworld because we don't know again what could happen in this episode. I don't want that feeling that I'm going to be like how Sutek was revealed for you, Mason, that I subscribe to the Doctor Who emails as well. I don't want Mrs. Flood's identity reveal to be spoilt for me on a little small thing. So I'm gonna keep it safe, still watch it. But again, those last 10 minutes of The Legend of Ruby Sunday was so good that I was like, I can't wait to watch this again at the cinema.
Yeah, yeah.
It's brilliant, wasn't it? And it was a lovely message from Ruby Sunday or Millie Gibson in Interval Break. It's a tough. So the decisions may change, maybe nearer to the time. Have conversations with who you go with. So it was interesting. I'm interested to hear Louis' answer because earlier today when we was all chatting, you was kind of contemplating about like missing Wishworld or so. What are you thinking now?
Yeah, I mean, do you know what? I've got to agree with James on this one. I think it is just one of those things that I need to. It was a hard process because I was sat there thinking like I could easily just Saturday watch it on iPlayer, get soaked up, and then watch it again in the cinema. And I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
My only thing was like, and it's not a bad thing to do because I have contemplated it, and the temptation as soon as you said it again, Jack, I was like, well, I might have to. I might just have to do that. But I remember there was a certain moment because I went to Piccadilly to see Legend of Ruby Sunday and Empire of Death on my own, and I was there, right, and I just enjoyed it. So Legend of Ruby Sunday played, and I was like, oh, I've had this, this is cool. Nice little bit of a, what happened.
Yeah.
And then Empire of Death started, and I was like, this is so cool, but I wanted to have the ultimate like kind of film experience. So I think like just to have that full 90 minutes installment in a cinema would give that whole. That's why I'm holding out on this time, is just so I can make this like one of the biggest season finales that I've ever seen of all time, because then it will have been. And I look back thinking, I don't think I could rest happy knowing that I went to the cinema to see only half of the season finale.
Yeah, because you're paying for both, aren't you? You're not just paying for the reality war. You'll be paying for the first part as well. So yeah,
I want to see it in all its galore, and I just do think I think I will just try the absolute hardest I can to avoid spoilers. I think I'm just gonna have to really like. I think I'm gonna have to like mute like Doctor Who on Instagram, mute Russell T, mute Julie, like just for a whole week. I think it'll probably do them benefit as well, probably. Like give them a break. Just like so I think it's probably for the best. So I'll give it a week.
I think this time it's going to be a bit different as well because, of course, it's going to be an evening showing, and right before, it's like, oh, it's midnight. We can go on the phones. And in my case, because I stayed away, and I was thinking, oh, I haven't been on my phone, haven't been on any social media, and the poxy emails. Right, at least when I was going into it, the least thing I thought, right, I thought I'm gonna get it on if I go on TikTok or something, surely, and I didn't. So I suggest if you want to do this, maybe unsubscribe on your emails. But yeah, I completely understand what you're saying there, though. Josh, what about you?
I'm not sure. Honestly, I'm not sure. The thing is, I want to have watched Wishworld before because I know for a fact, as soon as we find out who Mrs. Flood is, and also, because it will be on at 8 a.m., I will have to avoid spoilers. So I'll have to watch Wishworld as soon as I can. But then again, it's going to be a tough one because I can't wait that long. I want to see who she is first. So then, obviously, I won't be spoiled.
Yeah.
But of course, I'm going to go and see it in the cinema because it was a great experience last time.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Just being there in a room full of fans, like it's a once in a lifetime thing, isn't it? So yeah, I'm gonna make the most of it, and it's happening around the time of my birthday as well. So it can be part of, so it could be part of this celebration. So yeah, I might watch Wishworld first and then go and see the showing. I don't know. I'll make a decision the nearer we get
Yeah.
to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Make your choice nearer. Which is probably the right thing to do because we all might change our minds nearer to the time. Which it's going to be hard.
I must say, I do think that Josh was right though, because we all have that, like, I know that we don't have the, like, the Saturday night timings anymore. But I do agree with Josh. There is that, like, nostalgic want. Sorry, I'm just trying to move all my shelving as well. There is that nostalgic want to always fulfill Doctor Who's timing. When they go, this is the time you're getting it, you better be there or you're gonna be square. And it was kind of like, I can't let Doctor Who down. But wait, what was that, Jack?
I said 100%, like especially today.
Yeah, there's also a scenario that you if you're not, say if you watched Wishworld before, you might be disappointed in what's happened in it. I'm not saying it's going to be a disappointment, but maybe from last year, a lot of people felt the disappointment was in the Empire of Death. So maybe this year, there might be the opposite, right?
That's kind of half the reason.
Yeah, I feel like Wishworld might hold, like, I think that's going to be utopia kind of level. Do you know what I mean? Because like it ended on like a cliffhanger where it was big, but I think we all agree that the Sound of Drums cliffhanger was bigger.
It was. Yes, it was.
So I think this one, I think Wishworld will be a very tame penultimate episode. But I think the true action will take place in the reality war.
So I don't know if you heard what RTD said, but he said the 2 episodes that he recommends that you see straight away was The Well and Wishworld, I believe. So something in Wishworld.
I think he said the Interstellar Song Contest as well.
Did he?
Oh yeah, because apparently there's going to be something important in that one.
Yeah, so what I'm thinking is, actually, I'm thinking that is the utopia of this series, the Interstellar Song Contest. I think that's going to go into a cliffhanger going into Wishworld.
Oh yeah, that'll be a fun watch.
Yeah. And what
Yeah.
would be better if certain things are revealed early on in Wish World, right? So I imagine Wish World will probably be about 45 minutes, or probably around that kind of time frame.
Yeah,
And then you'll get longer in the Reality War.
yeah,
Hopefully an hour. Hopefully they're both an hour, but
an
it
hour at
won't.
least. I'd like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Well, you say that Odeon have got like a estimate runtime, and they say 2 hours.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Yeah. So how long would the interval break last? I think last time was about 10, 15 minutes.
But yeah, it
I
was
think it's 15.
15-minute break.
Yeah. So yeah, I think because you get in there. I don't know if I don't remember many trailers coming on last time.
No, no, they skipped them entirely
Yeah.
for that showing.
Do you know what? I think if we get a chance to all go and see it together, if we do get that chance, I really hope that is a possibility, guys. But all I'm gonna say is in that 15-minute break, because I'm still saying, right, provisionally, if I have missed Wish World and I'm going to see that on the same night as the Reality War, I will definitely be going to the bar in between that 15-minute break and getting myself a double whiskey on the rocks. I will need something to, like, I'll be like, oh my god, okay, we're going into the
Guys,
second.
I'm not okay.
Yeah, I'll be sat in the corner like, what is gonna happen? I don't know. Who is Mrs. Blood and what is she doing? Like,
She'd be like to Ruby, Ruby, I'm your mother.
oh,
Ruby,
I
I'm
don't-
your grandmother.
I'll tell you what, if that happens, I bet you everybody's going to be like, that series one, I think that was actually pretty good now. Do you get what I mean?
Everyone's gonna be like, what?
I
Yeah.
still want that to be tied up with Ruby's mother because I'm not satisfied with that ending still. I feel like I definitely don't feel like I'm in the minority in saying that.
Thing is,
If
it's
it's
a
linked
decent
with
ending for Ruby. I mean, it's a nice ending, but it's just like, but it's just a botch mystery.
Yeah. Right.
Like, why is it like? I get why they did it, but even still, that doesn't really make it a good, well-rounded mystery.
No, the ending. I mean, I came out the cinema. I'll be honest. I was quite disappointed when I exited those doors because
I must find her name. Why, Lord Zutek? I don't know.
yeah. I mean, I think we all come
Look,
out with those.
Look, I've been on top of this thing for God knows how many years, all right?
Yeah. We came out the cinema with more questions than had answers, really, didn't we? So it was one of those things, and like James says, we hope answers are fulfilled for that series, or what's going on. Something along those lines. For example, if Ruby ends up being something else, or Belinda ends up being something else, or if Miss Flood has arranged these certain what's going on. Because I just want to say something, right? We just had episode 3, the well, which we'll go on to now. So the well, right? Belinda gets shot and is brought alive. Episode 3, boom.
Yeah.
Series 1, Ruby gets shot, brought alive, right? So there's so many similarities between Series 1 and Series 2. We have a God episode and episode 2, introductory episode 1. So there's so many similarities. Yeah. So if they are very much connected, and Miss Flood is arranging where the Doctor goes, that could make so much sense. We might appreciate the finale last year a bit more if answers are met this year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because it's very clear that like she's doing something, or like at least she's aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it's gonna be, and or like in what capacity, but I have a feeling that Mrs. Flood has something to do with what's going on.
Yeah. I reckon so. Yeah, I think you're right. I think
Yeah.
you're right there, Josh. But yeah, we'll go on to Miss Flood a bit later on if we have any more theories. If you do, just spring them out. But we'll go on to the well. So before we actually talk about the well, I'm going to go to each of you and give me a little bit of your thoughts on the episode, and then we can all come together once we've all gave our thoughts. So as well as so I'll start with James again. James, talk about what you thought and tell us what you would rate the episode.
Okay, I mean, what I thought with the episode, well, we're sort of tackling this from a very strange angle because I think we had a very good idea of what the episode was going to be about, or certainly were pretty confident that we knew what it was a sequel to. So I was looking at it in a different way, but I felt completely satisfied with it because one thing that I was concerned about, and I think a lot of people were concerned about, particularly on social media, was that with there being a sequel to Midnight, that they were going to suddenly reveal a bit too much about the Midnight entity. We were going to see a little bit too much, and that might have spoiled things for the original episode Midnight from series 4. I liked that there are similarities, but I do feel like that it kind of stood on its own as its own episode as well. You could have renamed it. You could have renamed that planet something completely different, where they actually did. Um, but as it could have been completely separate from Midnight, and they would have got away with it. But I think that's because they evolved the Midnight entity in such a way where it was quite clear that there was a 400,000 year gap and kept the very threatening side of the entity and ultimately put together a very, very good episode. It's the first 10 out of 10 episode that I have given Doctor Who since the giggle. And the reason for that is because of the fact that I've always been a fan of the Doctor Who episodes where there is tension, the stakes are high, there is an entity or enemy that's a little bit creepy and scary. I want to be scared watching Doctor Who. I want to be like, oh, okay. I've not felt like that with Doctor Who for a very long time. I felt like Doctor Who has kind of missed that for a while.
Yeah.
This episode was right up my street, and that's why I loved it so much. The Midnight reveal as a sequel, being on that planet for me was just a bonus. It just gave that little bit of familiarity to the series that I think we'd been missing for a while because Doctor Who has become very, very distant from what it used to be. And change is good, but I think for such a historic show, you need to sometimes just have a little bit of familiarity. And that's where I think that the Midnight sequel came in really, really well. I'm still, I've watched it so many times already.
Yeah, I watched it today actually again. So
Yeah.
I had my lunch break and it's brilliant, brilliant episode. So a 10 out of 10 for you, James. So first, since the giggle. Yeah. So Jack, what about you?
Oh my days, this episode is a writer's. It should go in the books on how you write tension. This episode, because obviously before I joined you guys, I listened to or watched your Lux review, and hearing Lua's theories, I thought it's so good. I don't think it's going to happen, but part of me is like, I hope this happens. So when I started watching the episode, the first half of it, I'm like, oh, this is giving me Alien vibes because the color grading was so cold. So the cold open, let's just talk about the cold open for a sec. I'm loving how this series is starting off where it ended off with each episode, and how the Doctor is still wearing his 1952 costume. I don't know if anyone noticed it. I don't know if anyone noticed it, but there's a bit of foreshadowing going on in that TARDIS scene. And that is actually the colors of when it changes transition. It goes to blue,
Oh.
which is the color tones that this episode's prominently focusing on.
And also, I will just, sorry, I'm really sorry to interject. I'm just going to slot in a nice little notion for that exactly there. People only saw it as an homage to End of the World, and also some toxic reviewers have been saying that the reason why the use of Toxic by Britney Spears again was because of the toxic masculinity from some of the soldiers. I went, no.
Oh my God, really?
Some of
Serious?
the reviews, I've seen some people saying that, and they could not be any more wrong. Simply put, it is an homage back to the End of the World, and it also, if you was to sit there and basically go, right, okay, this is one of the Doctor's most vile, evil enemy. How can I foreshadow the events, what will come up with one song? Toxic. This whole situation will be toxic in its scaffold,
Yeah.
and it sets the tone as well. And they came out when it was blue. I love it.
I agree.
They basically went, this is midnight mode now, man. Like
Yeah.
that was very well noticed, dude.
It's the episode where I'm like, I rewatched it again, and I'm just like, I messaged you, Lua, and I said, this episode is very adult, but I don't think kids are going to appreciate it until they're older. And the reason for that is that it's giving me the episode for the first 15 minutes. I have to be brutally honest, though. I was thinking, okay, there's a lot of mystery. It's a mining colony. The visuals is superb. And obviously, there's a lot of walking about. I don't know if you watched the Doctor Who Unleashed episode, but there Russell T Davies was talking about how he wanted to make sure that the tone of it is dark, but not go too far because he knows that 6-year-olds are watching it.
Yeah.
I watched that and I thought, Russell, I think you went too far because this is really brutal. Because I don't know if you saw, but when you get that wide shot of the Doctor walking down a corridor, you see a dead body lying on the ground, and there are bruises to the brim on that leg. And I was just thinking to myself, what vile monster would have done this? And I was just thinking to myself, if this is midnight, this would all make sense. And when that reveal happened, and you get the flashbacks of midnight and the shot where the Doctor couldn't do anything, but the one thing that made me so happy wasn't just that. It was the echo of the audio where the Doctor says, "Get out of there." I just went, I'm not even joking, I went, yes. Like, genuinely, it was so...
echo.
The echo is so haunting. It makes you want to go back and watch it again. And anyone seen the film Insidious?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, it's scary.
There are moments.
Not yet.
There are moments where it reminded me of it, where every time Belinda said, "Have you ever heard of?" and cuts to Alice.
Yes.
Bunk. And I thought, oh my God,
Yeah.
what was that? What did we see? We are in the perspective of
Oh,
these.
definitely.
You have to pause and frame it and see where it is. They did such a clever job where they revealed it, because when the Doctor was like, I need to see it in turns, you get a brief glimpse. I'm not joking. I hate snakes. It looked like the Mara. Like the way the body was looking, it had that snaky look. I thought, I'll tell you what, if they ever did reveal it and it was like this snake creature, I would not complain that, because snakes are vile. But at the same time, I think a lot of people would find that really spooky. I do have one issue with the episode when I watched it for the second time. So it was initially a 9 out of 10. I bumped it down to an 8, and there's a reason for it. Think of this episode, and there's a really bad analogy, but think of this episode as cooking your favorite meal. It has the ingredients, so already it's got everything, and it tastes great. to me, there's missing a source to it, and there's one thing to it. I think they should have added. The reason why I love the Robot Revolution so much is because when I watched it, there was constant layers of adding to it, but it all made sense.
Yeah.
I think they should have added in one extra thing, and this is why I'm saying that I don't think kids are probably not going to respond well to this episode until they're older, because it's so adult, it's so psychological, that I think they should have added in an extra element where not only do you, if you turn around, like basically like what the doctor said, if it's a clockwork, you die at midnight. Not only does that happen, and the callback to the midnight track was spot on, but I think they should have added in an extra element of what the creature, the entity, can also do, just to give it that source as well.
Yeah.
I was definitely watching this episode thinking this is very simple, but I think what made Midnight so special is that they could have had this, this feeling of, yes, Sky is repeating everybody, but what made it so scary was that the more you were talking, the slower Sky was getting in sync to your voice. That is terrifying. What I think this episode was slightly missing was that I think they should have that familiarity to it, and not go straight to callbacks of, oh, it's repeating our voices, but maybe have an element where maybe one of the soldiers is possessed a little bit, and the only way you can stop it is to kill the soldier or something like that. Something on those lines where there's that little bit of action in there as well, because I do think the episode might have been a little too slow in certain places. But nonetheless, this episode will go down in history in Doctor Who, because this episode, I thought the pacing was perfect. The visuals were brilliant. My favorite line is, oh, I don't like, not loving the look, babes. It's not appropriate to call me babes. Okay, Han. I love that.
Yeah,
That's funny.
Really, that is becoming the 15th Doctor's Geronimo and Alonzi.
Yeah.
It's Babes, and I think it wasn't supposed to be at the start. He said something at the start of his tenure, but it just didn't. I think it was Devil's Cord, wasn't it?
It was Hariyama.
Yeah, which
is Turkish for "let's go." I think that was going to be his Alonzi, but again, it's Nick.
Yeah, I think Babes works better though. I love him.
Babes, funny.
And what I love about that phrase as well is that you don't hear a lot of guys saying babes as well. So it has that beautiful representation that not all men are super masculine and all that. And you know, they still it's like, you're right, babes, you're right, hun. You get what I mean? Like, it's brilliant that, you know, that is in there in Doctor Who. Yeah. There is one thing as well that I love. I don't know if no one noticed this. It's why I love this episode a lot. It's when he can hear them. I keep saying the Mara, but it's when he could hear the entity, and he said, "It knows my name." Look to the left. Alice's back gets more darker and darker in silhouette, and then it goes away. That is such a callback to The Conjuring, because The Conjuring did something similar. I think it was the second film where it's completely blurred out in the background, but the little girl's face sort of morphs into like this devilish. It was so scary that I couldn't help but think every time this episode ended, I just thought, blimey, what did I just watch? And it reminded me a lot of Wild Blue Yonder, a lot.
Yeah. And
I think Russell T Davies is the master at writing tension and writing reveals. So I'm giving this episode an 8 out of 10, purely because I think he had all the ingredients. He had the story, he had the pacing, he had the performance as well. Who was the lady that sacrificed herself? I forgot her name.
Shire? Was that the name?
Yeah, Shire. It's the first time where I felt an emotional connection to a guest star.
That was so sad. Would you done the well?
Yeah.
So beautiful of how they've written her character as well. But yeah, the only things that I think, to me at least, what needed a little bit better is maybe just speed up just a little bit, because obviously when you're standing around thinking, I can't go around you, and obviously you need to have that tension there. But at the same time, it's a brave episode.
Yeah.
But what wonderful.
Yeah, completely agree there. Thanks, Jack. Josh, what about you? What do you think of the episode?
Well, I loved it. I thought it, a thing is, when I heard all of the rumors and all of and all of the leaks about it, I was a bit uncertain because I wasn't sure whether they were going to get it right. But they did. I thought it was a great episode. I'd rate it like a 9 out of 10. Yeah, I thought it was another great episode. The cast were on fine form, especially Shruti Varda and Rose Ayling Ellis, who I think really stole the show here with this one. She was the heart of the entire episode. For me, this is a sequel that shouldn't have worked, but they did. But like it worked. Like they handled it really well. I love that we like know more about what the entity can do, yet we still know nothing about it. And even when we did see what it looked like, it was only a bit of a fleeting glimpse, like a blink and you'll miss it kind of thing. And it was very beautifully done.
Yeah,
I've got to say.
yeah, it was really good. What would you give it out of 10, Josh?
I'd say like an 8 or a 9.
Later on now. Yeah. Lua, what did you think of it?
I really liked it. Definitely one for the history books. Everyone said everything, and I don't think I need to say more. I think it's definitely it was an episode that was a masterpiece in its own way. It didn't need to be related to Midnight, but I'm glad that they added it as a luxury. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do find that because it's left me with more questions, if anything, about the Midnight Entity. Predominantly, obviously, because when I think about it, this could be also another theory time as well. So I'm just saying, Russell T Davies, this is on here in the moment. I feel that. Right, let me ask you, okay, take your minds back to when as Jack said, when he's just gone, oh yes, there it is. It's behind you. No, the thing behind you and the thing behind that. Okay, great. Yes, I need you to make a firing shot on the right pipeline now and the left pipeline. What happens? Guys, come on, talk to me. What happened?
You had the Mercury reflecting.
Yeah.
Yep. It gets reflected.
What was the doctor's hypothesis?
Well, it's like if it's seen, it can't attack. It won't attack if it's seen.
If the thing behind you always gets destroyed, then what if the thing behind you is yourself? Okay? So take that sentiment. What if the doctor was wrong? Now, obviously, in a perspective of mirroring, okay, he would think that that thing would hit itself, give it a blast of its own kind of medicine. But what happens if you mirror something?
It's duplicated it.
Duplicated. What if that was how it kind of makes progeny?
Yeah.
That explains how a second one entered the airlock.
You are brilliant at this. I could never think of that, but it makes so much sense.
It makes sense,
Um,
yeah.
and uh, um, and it also adds a bit more to the final scene of the episode, because that little whisper from the creature might be that could be the duplicated one.
You never know. You never know.
because obviously Rose yeah, she goes out in the lift, right?
Alice.
Yeah, Alice goes out in the lift. What about so it's duplicated, but one is still on her. That one is still there.
Oh.
And that's why you can see four in the lift. And then you also have the other one that is new. It's a new life form now. And it's so annoying. It's so unfortunate that what's her name again? The person who sacrificed herself.
Shia.
Oh, Shia. Yeah.
Shia. I was so sad that her death is for nothing, because she goes down there. But then what? Either this has happened, right? Either that scenario where it's duplicated herself. One's gone with Alice, and then one is just gone back down the well with Shia, and then thought, hang on a minute, she's gone now. I'll go up and get someone else. And the person who Mo, I think her name was, Mo, is gone to her, right? Because she's the most scared. In that room, in that room where they all said, "It's not me, it's not me, it's not me," right? To me, she felt the most scared out of all of them in that room, including Belinda. I think Belinda was more scared when she found out she was the last one. I don't think she was scared initially. The doctor wasn't really, and the others. So I think they go to who's the most scared in the first place, because Alice wasn't the first victim. She said that she wasn't the first. It came out from hell. So it goes to the people that are most scared. For example, Mr. Silvestri in Midnight, most scared in the entire place.
Yeah.
It goes to the victim that's petrified of whatever that thing is. So I reckon that's why it's gone to Mo. And I think it's unfortunate that it's still on Alice, but yeah, the doctor got it wrong.
That's why I'm kind of glad that that we have a Midnight sequel now, because it adds more to what was already a very interesting conversation.
So just going from that as well, so there's an important factor about how you perceive this one, and it's in the basis of, so there's a few things that I wanted to note. So I don't know if you saw my previous theory about how, if this actually, that I want to call it like a little Midnight Saga. So there's 4 chapters. I don't know if you saw my theory.
No, I haven't.
You not seen my other theory on this?
I'm not sure.
No.
I don't.
Okay, so I haven't actually had a chance to really give you the full detail, so I'll keep it sweet and I'll keep it simple. So in Midnight 1, oh, also that was the thing that I wanted to say. Going from what you said, Mo was the most scared Mason, right? It's imperative, and I don't know if you noticed this, it's absolutely imperative that the doctor had to be checking the CCTV footage in the other room, because once he had figured out what planet it was, he would have been easy prey for the Midnight Entity again.
Yeah.
So it needed to be doing something else before it could lunge. But basically, so my theory, now this really does go full scale picture. So we've had Midnight and we've had the Well. I want to idea that episode 3 is the missing episode that we still haven't had yet. And the final episode, I'm not going to name yet because I want to give you some evidence first. And I want you to with the evidence, you'll kind of guess where this is going. Okay. So in the first episode of Midnight, we see the first apparition of the Midnight entity.
Mhm.
A face with no entity with no face, no self, no nothing. It takes Mrs. Silvestri because she was the most scared person in the room, right?
Yeah.
And so from that point, for it to evolve, it needs to steal what?
The soul.
The soul. Yeah. Mainly so it was the voice, but in this case, it took the doctor's, like it took a good whole copy of him, who he is, who his person is, right? When he was
Yeah.
paralyzed doing that, right? Got everything it needed to know, right?
Yeah.
Can I just say something before you continue?
Yeah.
How I relate that scene from when the Doctor is taken by the entity, I relate it going back to Young Quiet Dead. When they take the people's souls, that's how I see it, because the Doctor is not completely gone. Like, you can see Mrs. Silvestri, even though when they think she's back, she's not. She's still. That's the entity talking.
A little bit pocketed, just like a little bit shunted somewhere in the back of the mind for temporarily. But so it takes the Doctor's imprint, right? Gets his voice, because obviously when it goes off, it goes, Alonzi, and it gets all of his like idiosyncrasy. So it knows that it knows who he is. And also we know that because in the well, it names him, right? It remembered him. So that's a very big factor. In the well, 15 things were smashed. Can you tell me what they are, gentlemen?
No.
Mirrors.
Mirrors were
Yeah,
smashed.
mirrors.
Mirrors were smashed. Now, can anyone using the superstitious fantasy of demonology explain the linkage between mirrors and demons, please?
I got flying monkeys.
Mainly in a satanic perspective, demons utilize mirrors as a way to access different planes in the universe. So it's a way for them to use portals. It's that kind of it's their realm. The mirror world is their realm. And basically there are spooky stories saying beware your own reflection because it might not be your own. So that's the first thing to put into mind. So that's a nice thing to play, but we know that this thing has slight demonic traits. This is the Russell T Davies impression of demons, cancer in the universe, like the most worst toxic thing we could imagine, right? So we know that this thing likes to play games as well. I'm not going and saying it's the toy maker. Don't think that.
No, it's not going to be the
I
toy
think I
maker.
know where you're going with it, but anyway.
The people saying they laugh.
No, well, hold on that. All right. So this thing likes to play games with people. It toys with them. It messes you up and drives you insane and makes you do the most impossible things to people. And this thing came out from hell laughing. Now, if you think this thing, also, I'd like to say Midnight was Chinese Whispers, or the game. This one was Piggy in the Middle.
Yo.
know that.
Just just saying. And then basically, so with that evidence you've got there, how can you point this into another direction? How can you really make this go to somewhere really wonderful? Now, in episode 3, I don't know how this would make sense, but if the Midnight entity managed to evolve into its third stage by getting off planet, ending up onto some small little planetoid, I'm going to name it Croptor. Perhaps maybe this Midnight entity somehow falls through a wormhole and ends up back at the beginning of the universe or before the universe somehow, or maybe a lovely god of time, lord of time.
So
banishes-
maybe its ultimate form would could be the beast.
Could be the beast, because just to give you some further cementing actual information here, it plays the "Don't Look at Me" game with Toby, doesn't it? Plays
Yeah.
that. Don't turn around. Yeah, you got that. Then also, the Disciples of the Light chained him, children from Midnight potentially, Who knows? A planet made of diamond and pure light seems rather fitting and quaint. And also, the Doctor congratulates the Beast on his voice.
Oh.
And also, if this thing was the pure evil in the universe, right? Just to also add a little bit of razzle on the dash, just for you to polish it with a little cherry on top, right? If this thing was true toxicity in the universe and was evil and was a composite of mirror and reflection, and if this thing wanted to own the idea of evil in the universe, then it would mirror the idea of the devil. And that's why it looks like the devil in the Impossible Planet.
Wow.
Higher,
Okay.
man.
Yeah. Russell, please hire him.
No. I would give the exoskeleton. Someone would have to write the story. I could not figure that out. That's the trouble. I would give you the plot, but I could not figure that out. I could not.
Oh,
But
but
the
that
fact
is a
that the fact
But
of how
that's
you put these things together to the point where it's so good that it's actually, real. It's so impressive. And I really do like
my
how
mind
you
is
put it
blown right
together.
now.
And going back to the Satan Pit stuff, the idea of don't look at me and all that, that could easily be, a Well 2 or Midnight 3, sorry, like another sequel to it where instead, it's using different voices from its victims to communicate. And that's why it's still unknown, but you're hearing it. And that's what's scary. And you never know, you could get a cheeky David Tennant in there because it used his voice already.
And also, just to add in, what's the first thing that Toby grabs after he looks behind him?
I can't remember. It's been ages since I watched that episode.
He grabs a mirror.
Oh,
I just like to think Russell T is very, very clever. And I do think if he could somehow figure out the Mother Mary of combining these two episodes, it would be so interesting. Like, I don't know how it would make sense because obviously the trouble is it would need to be sent back to the beginning of the universe. Now, that's the only thing that I can't figure out in my head. That's the only problem.
the only
Mason's
thing-
been rather quiet. I think Mason might be cooking with something right now, and he said, I think he's got something
Yeah.
brilliant. He's got a smirk. Is he figuring out Mason?
The Satan Pit is a pit, right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, the well.
Yeah, the well looks very similar to it, doesn't it? Into a certain context. So, like Lewis says, part 1, Midnight, is the very start of this End City. Part 2, I don't think part 2 is not the well. But it's not the well. The well is not part 2. It may be a sequel, right? But there could be another sequel after. So what I would imagine a sequel after the Midnight would be because we didn't really see Midnight, did we? We saw it on the plane, but we didn't actually see it. So what would be
No,
nice
we
is
went
to
on it.
actually go into Midnight properly and see what the entity events are after now. See what are the next stage. So that, like I said, the stage in the well is the like pig in the middle.
You've just triggered something in my mind, Mason, right? Okay. So you've just said what would be the next big phase. And obviously this thing started in a vocal presence. So it worked on so this thing works in fragmented perspective. So you think mind, body, voice, something like that. Once again, just to supplant the idea it could be the beast, how would you beat a creature which is an amalgamous of replication? So you would split it in two potentially, and they did that for the beast, for the body and the mind.
Yeah.
Just that's one other big grounding point for it. And it just I do kind of sit there and I do like what you're saying, Mason, that potentially Midnight could be the first, but the well definitely isn't the second. Oh, also, I would just like to say, actually, hang on, I'm going to come back quickly and shout it down quickly. Hang on. Wait, where am I? Hang on. I don't know if you saw, I commented this as well, but I deleted the comment So Russell T again. This is for you, darling. A little bit of a proposal to change the name of the Midnight Entity. Now, if the geography makes sense in the well, right? If they are situated, if Silo Shaft Mine 15 is exactly in the same place or roughly in the same kind of clickage or mileage as where they first encountered the Midnight Entity in the leisure bus, then this thing would be called the Witch of the Winter Well.
Whoa.
Because the canyon is called the Winter Witch Canyon.
Right.
I just think that if Russell T was gonna make like an evil creature, then that thing seems wonderful. And also, you know that we was talking about how every episode seems the basis of a child's storyline. Okay, so we had
Yeah.
robots on a like with the flamboyant robot ships playing pew 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 with the first one. Cinema when you're a kid and you think all of the monsters come out in real life. This one, if you remove the sci-fi aspect, and we've been talking about horrors and supernatural stuff, like Jack's been mentioning a lot, this thing would just be a Brothers Grimm story about a witch in a well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, we'd just like to point out, my mother is a nurse, okay? And I asked her a very big question today, and I went, Mum, what the hell is Similin? And she went, I don't know. And I went, what? And she went, there's nothing called Similin. And I went, so that's a fake drug.
That's the
Wow.
thing with telling futuristic episodes. You kind of have to, because it's 400,000 years in the future, and bear in mind, even the soldiers couldn't recognize Earth. I think he had to write around the hospital equipment and have to sound something that sounds like you would use in a hospital, but something that's
Yeah.
fake.
Mm.
And I think one of the things I'm really, really enjoying with Belinda is that even though she hasn't been in that hospital all that much, she is using her skills and knowledge throughout different time periods, different planets. She's helping people whenever she needs to. And I'm loving that we are understanding her character, even though she's not in the hospital itself.
Well, it's that inherent thing though, isn't it? It's that idea of the doctor. If you remove two hearts in a traveler, a doctor will always take a problem and isolate it into how you deal with it. And like so the doctor deals with his problems in a recipe and kind of goes, well, if this is the problem here, I fight it with its own energy in a certain way and it will be dealt with. And that's what doctors ailments, and this makes sense for Belinda as well to do the same thing because even she says it, she goes, if you're the doctor, then I'm the nurse. And we all know that nurses do a hell of a lot more work than some doctors do. Like, we know that. So and Jack, I love the fact that you pointed this out, dude. It's wonderful that she is so hot on the case about this sort of stuff. Like, nurses, I tell you what, right? Okay. My mother was in hospital around Christmas time. Not going to dive into why.
I'm
But
sorry.
it's okay. No, it's okay. But basically, when I went to visit her, she was still being a nurse. She was meant to be on bed rest and she was still going around the ward helping people. And I was like, what are you doing? Get back in bed. Come on. You can never remove the nurse from a nurse. And I think that's in every single nurse. It's a beautiful thing to
That's
see.
stunning, isn't it?
So lovely.
It's great to see representation like that, even though people don't ever notice it. But little things like that really make a huge difference.
Mm.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't surprise me if Valada Sethu got inspiration potentially on notes from Shooty's mum because she's a nurse as well.
Yeah, would make a lot of sense to be
It would be
honest.
wonderful if like she kind of looked at her potential. I don't know what Valada's parents do herself, but I mean, it's still though, it's wonderful that this is the kind of chemistry that we've got between companion and doctor now. I love it. I think it's brilliant.
There is one thing
Yeah.
I want your input on this, guys, and it's the use of the Vindicator.
Yeah.
So Here's,
Ah.
so the Vindicator, obviously, I'm loving, the use of it. But there's one thing that I've noticed on my second viewing, and I want your input on this. He uses the Vindicator on the planet when he lands just before the soldiers clocked on these two aren't meant to be here. Where the hell was it throughout the episode, though? Because he kind of just left it behind.
Oh yeah, I didn't notice that
Weird.
actually.
Face of the
Yeah.
earth,
And then,
isn't it?
and then when he
Never
come back
saw
to
it
the
again.
TARDIS, it's magically there.
Yeah, before you mention it, I never actually asked the question.
Well, I
Um,
think it's that thing of like, obviously they did the jump, and I think all they had to do was just walk into the silo. So he must have just left it out front of the base because
That's what I'm thinking.
well, he left it outside of the cinema, didn't he?
But he
Yeah.
did. Yes, good point on that. Yeah.
yeah,
It's,
yeah,
I think it's kind of like it's kind of just like a little anchor station for them. Like I think he's fine leaving it where it is.
Yeah.
it's what
There's-
Miss
Imagine if I accidentally took it. Series over.
it's what Miss Flood's apparently wanting him to use. So
Yes.
Yeah, this is the bit that is starting to throw me a little bit about Mrs. Flood, because I mean her words were that a Vindicator just as I predicted. So the fact that she is predicted that he would use it would imply that maybe she's not actually in control here. She just like has an idea of what he's gonna do.
Yeah.
So, so I'm now starting to think, well, it kind of solidifies my theory of like maybe she isn't actually the one that's pulling the strings. She's just like the accomplice to like oversee everything. You know what I mean? I don't. It's kind of. I just it threw me a little bit. It was like, okay, so you expected it to happen, but you make it sound like there was a chance that this wasn't going to happen.
The things that I'm getting on with Mrs. Flood is if we break down to her very first appearance, which was the church on Ruby Road, when she says never seen a TARDIS before, and then the next scene we then see her is I can't remember which episode it was. I think it was episode 4. I think 73 yards. 73 yards.
Yeah, it was.
And the way she was talking to Ruby, and then we cut back later to the Legend of Ruby Sunday, where unfortunately she didn't make Mrs. Cherry that cup of tea. But the way she was talking about the gates of, the spiritual place, and I can't exactly remember what she said, but she also said, I had such plans. So it's indicating to me that it's not going to be a twist in the way where she's actually going to be an ally to the Doctor. It's very clear that she's going to be a villain. But my theory is something, how in the Church of Ruby Road they did that very last minute reshoot or additional photography, and it was to do with the snowman fall. Do you remember that scene? That was a Disney Plus recommendation to Russell saying maybe we need to see the Doctor earlier. Now there's a lot of theories going around that there is this reshoot that was placed into the finale season. Now we don't know what it is. People are under the assumption it's a regen scene. I don't personally think it is, but I think that it was an additional scene for Lux because people were talking about there was a scene. What if that scene was the Whovian scene? That scene was Disney Plus saying, I think we need to make sure the audience is making this is loud and clear to the audience that all is not being seen what it's been told. And our reality, if the finale is called The Reality War, which is very, very, very similar to Doomsday and Secret Wars.
Yeah, and right at the end of Lux as well, is revealed that those fans are alive.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So I'm predicting that Mrs. Flood, with the constant fourth wall breaks, that Mrs. Flood is actually the god of reality. Hence why the reality war. And I think Mrs. Flood is a huge person that it's clear as day to us. And Russell T Davies, he's getting all this shit from people at the moment, but I am letting this man cook because he knows what he's writing. He's written like what you said, Lua, in your reviews as well. He has written one story, even Joy to the World, that yes, he didn't write, but that story was almost like an epilogue of Empire of Death. How is
Yeah.
the
He's got
coping
another
of
story at play.
Blueby? Yeah, and does anyone else notice as well in the Robot Revolution? He said, yeah, timelines, they get quite complicated. Why he needed Belinda. I have a huge theory that he was talking about himself.
Oh.
So in the well, going back to the well, I do think that with what's her face again, Mrs. Flood, talking about a vindicated, just as I predicted, I do think that it's because she's like this god of reality, god of narratives, that's why she's here all along. There's always a twist at the end. That's why the song was played, not because of Sutekh, but for Mrs. Flood.
Well, it's an interesting point going on from that, because I mean, the first thing is, why is it called a vindicator?
Sounds
Does
cool.
Does anyone know what the definition of vindication is?
I don't
I've heard
know.
that word many times before, but I couldn't tell you what it means. I'd have to look it up.
Basically, in the easiest way to put it is to kind of, you've got no guilty conscience, like you clear your name of something.
Yeah, you're vindicated.
Yeah, exactly. So my idea for Mrs. Flood is, it's kind of like, I like the idea of God of Stories. That's a nice one. I do sit there and think, I think what she's trying to do, and I sit there and I've always thinking about this idea of, breaking that immersive meta, was she is trying to retcon Doctor Who in Doctor Who. So
That's
like,
why it hasn't been renewed yet. Probably say
yeah, exactly. So he's been fueling all of this pumpage into it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Getting
I
units all
agree.
in. And it
Um,
just seems wonderful.
And she's been talking a lot about the show ending on May 24th.
And also as well, like, it's an important thing as well that the well was there as well, because because obviously whatever happens on May 24th, right, means no more Earth, but it doesn't mean no more anything else, which is an important thing to take into account, because obviously Earth isn't a part of the kind of a federation, and the people of Earth never made it to midnight. So
Yeah, definitely.
this is an idea that the rest of the universe somehow survives, but it's just on Earth.
That's why you and James need to be very careful. If you're going to dodge Wishworld and save it for the cinema screening, be very careful on social media. Tread carefully.
yeah, I just wanted to say, before I go on to what I think of the well, what do you rate it? Or what you rate in the well?
I mean, I would purely say, right, okay, because I didn't really go into too much depth about it. Actually, we kind of got a little bit convoluted on the theory. I would say the best bits about it for me were the clock face aspect. I really loved the utility, like they utilized kind of like the overground, like being thrown around effects. I loved all of that. But one thing, when I really started to feel like, how is this going to be worthy of a midnight sequel? How is this going to beat things like Listen and Hide and all of the other scary things on top of it? And it was that first moment when Belinda goes, "Have you ever?" And then goes, "Oh," like that. As you say, like that moment, I just went, "Oh!" I was like, "Did you see that?" I was like, "Okay." I was like, I felt like Claude and Driver Joe in the actual bus as well. I was like, "Did you? There was something there." Like I felt that. So yeah, I will give the episode. I would have given the episode a 9, but due to the fact that I spoiled it for myself, and I also Once again, apologies to Doctor Who on that one. If I didn't know about that scene and I had guessed that it was the star and it was all of that jazz, that would have really made it a high ranking bit for me. But I was just
Mm.
sat there the entire time, just like, this is painful.
We're good at the
This is-
theories.
Yeah, I was
Watching
like,
your theory come to fruition, yeah.
I know. I was like, this is painful, man. I was like, this is heartbreaking. Like, I was like, don't get me wrong. I was like, congratulations to Russell and Sharma, and Angel Sharma. But yeah, it was brilliant. It was brilliant. 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 on my end.
Mm.
Right, right. So what I thought of it, right? I thought personally for me, it's the best episode Shooty Girl has done as the Doctor.
Mhm.
I thought everything was good. I appreciated more my second rewatch than my first. Because on my first, when we get to see Midnight, right? I don't know if I'm on my own in this, and I presume I'm not on my own in this. So when because we didn't know much about anything until after the reveal. Oh, we're on Midnight. Brilliant, brilliant reveal. But then we think, I presume, I'm watching it. I'm watching it with my parents. I was like, I said it even before, but I clocked it when the diamonds. And I said,
Yeah.
I said to my parents, it's midnight. It's midnight.
Yeah.
It's midnight. It's coming. And then my mum said, "How do you know that? How do you know that?" Right? And I said, he's been there before. And then he says, "I've been there before." And then she says, "How do you know that?" And then, but the really good thing about that thing was brilliant. And then having the assumption that it's going to be repeating like we thought, right? And that was a little bit of a disappointment to me when watching it on the first time, because I thought that would have been beautiful if that happened. But then watching it a second rewatch, I appreciate it more because you find out a little bit more about the entity. So it's good that I didn't do it the same.
Yeah.
But which I loved, but I would have liked, which Jack's mentioned, I think James has mentioned as well, if either if it took over someone, like someone else, or even when the Doctor um was speaking to it, that we heard it say something a bit more clearly, so something like "Hello, old friend" in a deeper tone, just not for long, just so you can forget it. Maybe something that's like only he can hear in his mind, because of course it's been in his head, so no one else could hear it, and they're like, "What did you say?" So I would have liked that to happen. I have two, one criticism and one thing that other people may not appreciate the episode as much as us. So the criticism, which I've mentioned a half dozen times, is the suits at the start. The suits at the start. Lovely song "Toxic," which Lua mentioned. It's only that how they know it was the suits, and the only other way I can think of it, because they go into the suits, right? Then they go into the ship, and then they got the helmet that goes with their suit, and for some reason they're exactly the same. So the only way, right? I rate this episode 9.5. So I rate it 9.5, but the only way that gets lifted to a 10 is if by the end of the series it is said that that Mrs. Flood is the reason for everywhere the Doctor goes. If that is the case, I think most of us will like maybe a lot of the episodes a bit more knowing that. But if not, it will stay the same. But the last point on this episode is well, I thought the pacing was brilliant. I think it's the best pacing episode since I was actually of this new era, including the 6th anniversary specials. I think this is the best paced. I do agree with Jack what you were saying earlier about in the middle a little bit slow. I feel like with Belinda going to the entity and hearing it a couple times, I do think to keep the suspense, do it less. Don't go up to her 3 times. It's a bit too. It's a bit too the same. Like the first time we were jumped, but then you just know it's going to happen. And lastly is it's like conversations I have with my family. right? And I don't know if any of you are the same. Like for us, we know Midnight off by heart, and a lot, even if with a flashback scene, still people won't clock it. It's like 17 years old. I do think people like I've got my dad asking me saying, "Why can't you see it? Why can't you see it?" I've got my mum asking me, "I don't get
Yeah.
it. I don't understand it."
Yeah.
So there's people out there like my parents and like others out there who don't get it, and it's unfortunate. But I do understand that side of things because people are going to think that, and they might not understand the basis of the entity. Even if they do watch Midnight, they'll think, "Why is it not speaking? Why is it doing that?" So really, like Jack said, it's an adult kind of thing,
Yeah.
and it's something
adult.
that you need to know what the entity provides a bit differently. And like Lewis said earlier, it didn't have to be Midnight, but the Midnight was on top. And I watched Unleashed, and Russell said that it wasn't supposed to be. It was all down to Sharma. Sharma brought her ideas to the table. It was going to be the, the like that god that Shooty Gatwa wanted to face, but that couldn't be done
Yeah.
purely
Risha.
for reasons that could inflict like the godness of in real life to sci-fi. So they couldn't do that.
Yeah.
So I think this was one of the gods that the Doctor Shooty Gatwa wanted to do something like this. So Sharma had most of the work, but then Russell T Davies just thought, let's do the Midnight sequel. We might as well because it has too much. He wanted to do a supernatural horror, and it had too much relations to what Sharma was wanting to do. So that's the reason. So I think it didn't have to be a Midnight sequel. It could have been something completely different. So, but
Yeah.
that's on top.
I wonder how much is Sharma and how much is Russell T Davies in this episode, because obviously the Midnight has Russell T Davies, but I just wonder because obviously it's written by the two people, and as you stated, Mason, that it was originally going to be an episode set in Nigerian as well, Nigeria, sorry, and he stated that that there was like this mythological god monster that he wants to incorporate, but he wants to make sure that the representation of it was there as well, and he just thought there wasn't, hence why then we got the Midnight sequel. I do wonder though how much is Russell and how much is Sharma, because the episode's so good. I can't help but wonder, did Russell let Sharma have a lot of creative freedom, or was Sharma the one thinking, why don't we add this as well? And Russell's like, that is such a good idea.
Yeah.
It's
What
interesting,
was
isn't
you
it?
thinking though, right? So you know that moment when he goes like, "Are you there?" Do you not think that that thing showed its face to him a little bit in that
I
moment?
was thinking
Yes.
that as well, but then that goes later on and said, I want to see it. I thought, okay, so
Well,
he clearly didn't see it.
Well, he might have wanted a better look at it, like maybe
Right.
like once he
Yeah.
got because this thing's like a tick. But I did think, right, okay, because the thing is, right, we've learned too much about this creature now. Because this is the one thing, once again, sorry, Russell, we're gonna pick it apart. If this thing can't be seen, right, and it works on a basis of lighting, right? Okay, that's the idea that this thing you can't see it in a certain moment of the light in the corner of your eye. That's how you identify where it is, right? And also, Driver Joe and Claude also had that moment as well. They went, see that. So if this
Yeah, I don't know.
thing is born on a planet of diamond, right? Born from the purest, most galvanic radiation from an extonic star, the brightest, most dense thing, then this thing I would like to propose once again, Russell, write this down. Call this thing a prismatic being, because basically what happens when you shoot light on a diamond is it basically becomes prismatic, and the light that you see dissipates and you can't see it as much, right? You can't see it, and you can't see it from every angle.
Yeah.
I
Russell,
was.
so
It makes
I
a
think
lot. Again, it makes a lot
And
of sense. I love it.
just
what I love about these podcasts.
now, Jack Mason also just said something as well. He wanted Shooty originally wanted in his original interview, he wanted to fight the Beast, didn't he? Now,
Did, yes.
say if Angel, is it Angel or Sharma? What's her first name?
I'm not sure. Just say Sharma.
I think it's Sharma Angel Wolfall. I think it's Sharma Angel Wolfall. basically, if she had went to pitch to Russell saying, "I want to give you a devil kind of like god," right? He might go, "There's confliction there. I'm so sorry, honey. There is already a devil in the universe, and basically he exists to be all of them. So I don't think that could really make. I'm really sorry because then that would contradict it. So what if potentially he then went, what if there was a way to actually still give her what she wants, but we do it the long way round? So once again, also to add to the idea that this thing does become the beast in the end game. So Shooty might not be able to go against the beast, but due to the fact that Angel Sharma proposed this idea about this kind of demonic thing that came out of a well, if she wrote that this thing came out of a well, laughing from hell, those fragments, he wouldn't allow, like, I think he would have to give it to the Midnight framing because it's so much more loosely fitted. But if he is now pieced together that the Midnight Monster is like the seedling and the beast is the bad boy, that would be
That'd be brilliant.
rapidly.
I was thinking, what could have added to the tension of every like in the world if every victim they can only see the entity because it's on them. What could have been an extra thing? What could have been added just to make it them more scared? So they could only see the entity because it's on their back. And I don't know why it just reminds me of Turn Left in a sense. Like with the beetle on the back, and it's like there's something on my back. I don't know what it is, but it's something behind me. And you got Donna. There's something on my back. What is it? So it just reminds me of that so much.
Someone posted a tweet when they went, we needed this woman when we needed her most. And you know that one woman that points at Donna when there was something internal, she's like, we needed her in the well.
Yeah.
We needed her in the well. Would have been perfect.
Yeah.
Wasn't that like a fortune teller?
No.
Course.
In the hotel, right, when the Titanic crashes into London in the fake reality, there's the one like so that Wolf's like, oh my word.
Oh, yes.
And then it's just a one woman, she's like
Yeah.
And then
I
you
just
never
thought
see
of
it.
course to you know how earlier I was saying there need to be like maybe just one extra level of tension. What I really love about this episode is the translators and how
Yes.
it's a cheeky, you know, way of a cheap trick of yes, we've got a deaf character in this episode, and how we're going to, you know, obviously time wise, he probably wouldn't be able to give the respect and time for sign language. Which may I just say, the way Ncuti Gatwa did that, the BSL is called British Sign Language, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Do you know what would have been amazing? Just like that, just a little extra fear. Imagine we're in the perspective of Alice, and
Oh.
you remember how you were talking about Lua, about the lady in Turn Left. She goes like that and just starts pointing. Imagine we just get a moment where Belinda's like, "Are you right, Alice?" And she starts pointing, and it's just our random soldier, but the translators are on, and it's the entity talking through the translator, saying, "I am coming."
Was what
That
I
would have
wanted
been a
to
nice
say.
touch.
Yes.
That's what we said last week.
Yeah.
We said last week that's what we wanted to happen.
Yeah,
I would have
I
liked
think that would be
Yeah.
scary.
it would have been a nice, but do you know what though, right? Okay, I still do just find because like we went down the idea of what if Alice is potentially like perverted as well, like in this whole thing, and I like actually that she wasn't. I do like actually in the end of it, she was just the victim, and
Yeah. I mean,
I like that because
Yeah.
it showed her strength in the end game. And the thing, right? Okay, I do like. And once again, Mason, you noticed something. You said that both characters got shot in episode 3. There's also another correlation as well about episode 3 as well. And it is something to do with the fact that Alice is deaf. Can you also tell me something else that happens in Boom, which has something to do with which was, you know, which would have been 10 to 15 years ago considered as like a disability, but today it's considered in a fluid position of perspective. but we try to see it as not an ailment because these people don't see it as it's a it's a way of living. So we need to be reminded of that. Can you tell me what that was in Boom?
Was it the little girl?
Mm-mm.
Where wasn't the little girl?
It seems like there is a recipe for episode 3 that the characters need to get shot. Because in the intro, well, the thing is, the true victim in Boom isn't the Doctor, is it? Who is the true victim in Boom? Let me ask you guys that.
Is it the father?
What happens to the
Oh
father?
yeah,
Why? Why was he smelted?
Because they detected injury that was
What was his
blindness.
injury? He
Was
was
it
blind.
blindness? Yeah.
Blind.
Oh,
And in this
yeah.
one, the victim was deaf.
yeah.
I like that. I really do like that. If episode 3 is like the episode where in the DNA of the show now, like they've got it's going to be the action-packed horroristic one, but in this one they do try to break a taboo on how some archaic perspectives of disabilities can be perceived.
Yeah.
I'm all
Yeah.
game for it.
I've got to say as well, and while we're building on that note, I've been wanting to say this for a while. I love the amount of disabled representation in this run because, like, there's people like Shirley Ann Bingham, and Morris Gibbons was a part of Unit, and of course we had of course I don't know if he wasn't actually blind, but we had the character of John Francis Vater in Boom, and now of course we have Alice and Rose Ailing Ellis in The Well.
Yeah, I don't think John Francis Vaser was. I don't think the actor was blind, but yeah,
I know,
very-
I'm just saying that I like the amount of inclusion that we've had in this era.
yeah.
As and as an aspiring actor or writer with cerebral palsy, that kind of inspires me to keep going, and it gives me a lot of hope
Dude, I'm
that
so glad.
one day, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just such a wonderful feeling.
Good.
Yeah.
That's the intended purpose of what makes the Doctor Who and also like other BBC things great, isn't it? Like, because it's that idea of to inspire and to
Yeah.
keep going. And I love that, dude. That's brilliant. Absolutely
Yeah.
brilliant.
I completely
That-
agree. Completely
Doctor
agree with you
Who-
there, Josh.
Keep that up. Keep that up. Don't let us
Thank
down.
you.
We keep doing it because you'll be getting yeah.
We're living in a time where I think the Doctor Who fans that grew up with New Who have now become the classic New fans.
Yes.
And I feel as though that, in no disrespect to them, because I think that having a community who brings up. You're right there, Louis. You look as though you saw
Yeah,
something.
no, I've just I think someone knocking.
It's
at
the entity.
It's the entity. So I'm as much as I appreciate them, and I'm not going to name names, I do think they overlook the show a little bit and they dive too much into things like, for example, what a particular writer has said about an episode. Does that lead to cancellation, or does this viewing figures that the 7 days or the overnights a testimony of what the show is going to lead into?
Oh yeah.
I think what Doctor Who fans need to remember is that it's not our jobs to say what is good ratings and what is bad ratings. That is clearly BBC. And as last year, we all thought, especially me, I have to be brutally honest as well, thinking, the BRB figures, they're not as great as I thought they would be. But then you hear Russell saying, oh no, BBC is popping champagnes. If they're proud of it, then it's not our jobs to criticize the numbers. Just leave the numbers alone and look.
Yeah.
Are you enjoying it? Is it inspiring you?
Well, dude, that's a wonderful point, and I think we've digressed a little bit about this in the past, Mason and James. I don't think you was there for that one, Josh, sadly. But basically, it's this idea that people who do these reviews talking about the viewing figures as if, like, 1.58 million isn't a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right. They're saying that in comparison to like 2010 viewing figures. Honey, we're not in the days of leisurely TV now. Like, if the BBC, like 1.58 million viewers is a triumph in today's age of technology. Just to
Yeah.
put it,
Yes.
that is a triumph. With all the distractions and everything out there, good.
Yeah.
Wonderful stuff.
And if you actually look at the numbers as well for Lux, sorry to interrupt you. If you actually look at the numbers for Lux, I don't know if you've seen the numbers for the 7-day figures, but I think they're at 3 million. And people are saying, like, for example, other YouTubers, they're having these awful clickbait thumbnails to talk about them. And I don't click on them because I don't want to support that. But if you actually look at the numbers and you actually take away, it's stable. It's the same people who watched last week coming back for this week.
Yeah.
And I just think people are just analysing it too much. And it, quite frankly, it ruins the experience of watching Doctor Who.
What we've got to remember is last weekend was Easter weekend, and people aren't all going to be watching Doctor Who straight away. And I don't like these. They call themselves YouTubers now, don't they? Where they, like, even just before starting today, to be honest, I get notifications on my phone. Supplies regeneration this, regeneration that.
Yeah,
right.
So many of them today.
Yeah. I keep getting them on my phone today. As soon as we get a cinema announcement, regeneration. It's regeneration.
I mean, how do we know it's going to happen? We don't know that.
I'm
know
starting
what
to
I
think
can't
they're in the same WhatsApp group together as well a little bit. I'm like, all of your titles have all been the same thing today.
Yeah.
It's why I don't watch them anymore, because I just think that whilst they are lovely, probably lovely people, I just think that you are clearly creating clickbait YouTube videos now. And it's not a disrespect, because I watch those videos and it's clear to me that you're not hating on the show, which is great. But don't claim, because I got so excited when they announced a cinema release.
Yeah.
But the first thing I pop up seeing is the end. Like, I'm not going to name, but there is a particular YouTuber who used the thumbnail of Ncuti Gatwa regenerating, and it says the end. I'm like, what are you talking about?
How is that what you get from it? Like,
yeah.
No offense.
It's unfortunate.
How is that what you get from it? Like in the lead up to season 2, I saw more people getting worked up about the show going on or like being cancelled rather than everyone being excited about the new season. It's a bit,
yeah.
It's, I don't know if you see TikTok videos as well, but sometimes people are showcasing their own kids watching the show and enjoying it. And that is what Doctor Who is about.
Yeah. I saw a video the other day, and it came up on my YouTube feed that they were just rating. I think it was Lux or The Well. One of them was their daughter, and I thought that's brilliant.
I think
it's so sweet when they do that.
Yeah, and I think that they were quite young as well, and it was brilliant. It's brilliant getting the new, because what we have to remember, especially these YouTubers, that your views aren't just adults. You will have younger kids probably want to see you, and you've got to be aware that you saying end Doctor Who regeneration, it can affect a lot of people.
That would have broken my heart when I was a kid growing up, and I went, "Oh, let's go," because we still had YouTube in kind of Matt Smith, late David Tennant kind of era.
Yeah, that was when YouTube first started to become. But one thing I've
never
noticed a lot,
see videos like Matt Smith gonna die in this, like none of that.
It's so toxic, and I'm so grateful that we grew up in a time where Doctor Who didn't have to go through the barriers of YouTube. And
I never watched it. Yeah, we never watched it. I wasn't there.
The YouTubers are just, I hate to say this, but I'm going to do what Lua does to everyone else as well. But what does YouTube give you?
Entertainment.
Not just that. There is another money.
Money.
YouTube gives you money. It's why
Thank
they do
you.
this.
Because
Yeah, they are doing this for themselves.
Oh, I see now. Yeah.
They want to be the first to break like
yeah,
the news of something going on, or this, that, and the other. They are doing this for their own benefit.
Quite parasitic, isn't it, in some way?
Yeah.
like you'll find on most channels, this isn't a bad thing by the way, but if they keep doing it, it may come bad. So you'll get people say like follow me on a certain channel to get early access and stuff like that. I hear that quite a lot on some channels. That's another way they can get the money
Exactly.
as well, which is quite sketchy in a way because they're following you for your content anyway, but to get early access they have to give you a bit of extra money for that. Why couldn't you just launch it on your channel anyway?
Isn't it?
Can I also make a personal point as well when it came to the Empire of Death? When the Empire of Death came out, the last time I was at the cinema watching Doctor Who was for the 50th. And I remember just having this feeling. It was a packed crowd as well. And I remember having this such joy feeling watching it. And to me, watching that episode was just utter delight because it gave me that feeling. So when I go onto TikTok and I see so much negativity around Doctor Who again, I just can't help but think, guys, you forget the point of why they do this. Like once this era is done, you are going to miss the fact that we had a yearly cinema release.
Yeah.
Love Chibnall as a writer. He didn't do that. He didn't go that extra mile. People are forgetting that RTD.
Yeah, true.
He's creating a Whoniverse for us. Like, let's be honest here. I bet you guys, as soon as you saw when they released the Whoniverse, like little 10-15 second intro on YouTube, you can't help but think, oh, Doctor Who is so back.
Yeah, that made me absolutely ecstatic.
Yeah,
I love that.
That was the point where I started to get excited about the show again because, admittedly, for me, my excitement did sort of dampen a little bit throughout the Jodie Whittaker era, and I felt like that once we got that, I felt like what Russell T Davies has done, or what he did in 2005, is that he obviously reinvented the show, and I feel like that now, starting from the 60th anniversary, he's kind of reinvented it again, but actually modernized it for the consumer of 2024 and 2025. The whole Disney Plus thing now. I think he has a far better understanding of how people consume media.
Yeah.
Maybe the other previous writers do. Do you know what I mean?
But the only trouble is with that one is to get that point across, it takes time. You can't do it straight away. And the only issue is with these fans how can I refer them in any way? The ones that David Tennant welcomed him to insult the show, and he's now responded that they can all just that was his genuine verbatim in the assembly. I don't know if you've seen it.
I've seen it. I loved how he was with all
they could just fuck off. I loved him for it. It was brilliant. But it's this thing of like with these fans, like I don't know what happened to them at some point down the line where they had to decide to pick up a laptop, a phone, camera, and hate so much.
I
don't know what happened to them.
You'll get a lot of the fans who comment on myself sometimes, and numerous others. They will say Doctor Who ended with Peter Capaldi's last episode.
Oh,
you get that all the time. You get this. I saw it earlier. I keep seeing it.
If I see that argument one more time, it is absolutely ridiculous.
Look, guys, to put it simply put, right? Okay, when you ever get someone who says the show isn't what it was once before. It's not that they've changed too much. No, no, no. You've changed too much. Clearly, the show isn't good enough for you anymore. No, no, no.
Mm.
Sorry, you're not good enough for the show. Move
Yeah.
on. Simply
Mm.
put, if you the
Absolutely.
core principle of the show is about change, and if you cannot accept it, get off the train.
Yeah.
Leave.
Yeah.
You've got like the idea and the notion and the human concept of change. This show is not for you.
Yeah.
And if people, those toxic fans talking about, because I don't type Doctor Who on YouTube anymore. I subscribed to YouTube channel, but I bet you they were talking about the wokeness of hiring. I don't know what the lovely actress who played Alice.
Yeah.
You know who I'm on about. I bet
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of dreading about it, if I'm being honest.
But the one thing that they always forget is that Doctor Who has
Yeah.
always been woke, and
I know,
I'm
it's always been
very,
this
very
way.
happy.
Always.
The lady from Into the Flood and before whatever it's called, the one about the ghosts under the submarine in Capaldi's run.
To the lake / before
And
the
it's-
flood.
Absolutely. And what I love about Ncuti Gatwa's run in the well, especially, I don't know if anyone noticed this, but you know that bit where the Doctor and Alice were communicating through sign language, and they went quiet.
You need you to
Do you
keep
know what I
on
love?
communication at all times. Oh, sorry. Yeah, even in the future.
What I love about it, there was no subtitles to showcase what they were saying. You have to learn that to understand that.
Do you know what they said? Because
Yeah.
I think I know what they said.
What do you think they
Yeah.
said?
I think what the doctor was saying to Alice was asking the doctor if he has a gun, and the doctor said no, I'm safe. So that's
I
what
did
he's
see
saying to Alice.
something. Yeah, I did see something on X where somebody did translate what they were saying. So shout out to Phoebe on Twitter. Apparently they said relax, I won't harm you. They all have guns. Not me, I'm unarmed. You can trust me. Thank you. Apparently that's what's being said in that scene.
Such a beautiful moment for the Doctor. Like,
It is, yeah.
I think what I love about the Doctor, and I have to be honest about Doctor Who as well, it shaped who I am as a person. And I think what you learn a lot about the Doctor is that you can solve anything without the use of violence or acting on. All you need is kindness, selflessness, and the ability to give a goddamn good speech.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That is Doctor Who. And if people don't want that, like what Lewis said, hop off the train.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do think 100% that people need to be aware of what they say online. They need to be aware because stuff they say can, like what happened the other day, right? There's much worse of people doing that in a much drastic sense on purpose, and which can really people you find people judge people differently from other people. It's like at school in a way where maybe let's say you were really good and you did all the work, and then they would maybe pick on you for doing the work and not maybe on someone who's just irritating and naughty. And it's the same scenario right now. So really, when people say this about regeneration, we don't know it. I did a poll earlier. on Instagram. I wanted to see people's opinions. The highest votes were people didn't think it was going to be Regeneration. So
Need for it.
which is good. Like I don't know. I'm sure we all don't know. It's not confirmed. But sometimes when people say this, right, these YouTubers, it's almost like they're confirming something. Sometimes it can
Yeah.
signify that they're confirming it, and then people's like, wait, what? A regeneration? So people just need to be careful what happens and what they say, because if it's confirmed, fair enough. Like last night, we got a implication online about the cinema, and then they announced it today. So I personally think the cinema announcement would have been left a few days. It wouldn't have happened when it did. It was just because it got shown last night, and then it got applied today. So I reckon they might have left it a day or two later than today.
They announced
Yeah.
it. I don't know if you guys noticed this as well. This is exactly like a like, not complaining at all. This is a retread of last year. They announced the cinema screening between 3 and 4 as well, because
Yeah.
I remember very, very much so where I was as well. I was filming, and it was the week before 73 Yards came out. Oddly enough, what's this episode all about this week? Which we're going
Ruby
to talk about in a
Sunday.
minute.
Ruby Sunday.
Ruby Sunday.
Yeah. Speaking, so
Yeah.
let's quickly just dive down on Lucky Day, because I want to see everyone's views before we finish.
Yeah.
We're supposed to a lot about the well, so I just want to see what everyone's views, what you think. So I'm going to read the description of Lucky Day, so we have a little idea of what it's about. So it says, Ruby Sunday faces life back on Earth without the Doctor, but when a dangerous new threat emerges, can Ruby and Unit save her new boyfriend, Comrade, from the terrifying Shriek? So it's a very good. I've seen different photos. Photos have come out this week, especially of Comrade near the TARDIS. I have the implication that Comrade is a super fan. So we go back to that super fan element of the Doctor. So what I think could happen, Russell theory, is that that in 2007, right? Which I would love this to happen. I would love in 2007 we meet young comrades as we saw in the trailer, and but that is the year Harold Saxon became Prime Minister of Great Britain, and we see they're all celebrating, aren't they, for the new year? So what will be lovely if we have a little bit of Harold Saxon going on here. I don't want him to be in the episode, but maybe a mention. So for some reason, I think Comrade gets a 50p or something, because it's all upon that wish element that we've seen in this series already. So it's his lucky day, and then we saw in the next time trailer just gone for after the well that Comrade said, "We're a team like you and the Doctor." So I feel like what could have happened is Comrade knew Ruby anyway, but because he remembers the Doctor with being young in 2007 and's got older, having an obsession with the Doctor, and then wants to be like the Doctor, and then eventually we'll have a wish day, or wish world, a wish wanting to be like the Doctor, but it all goes horribly wrong, and it's the opposite. So I think this episode will have massive implications on the finale. So a bit like Devil's Cord in a way, in a sense.
Yeah. Do you know what it reminds me of? Do you know what it reminds me of? Love and Monsters.
Oh, with Everton.
Yeah, because it's about a super fan. There's a promo shot released of Conrad by the TARDIS, and it heavily reminded me of Love and Monsters because of that being cold open. So
well, the thing is, where Love and Monsters is different, is it like they're just trying to speculate what he's like, whereas Comrade is essentially enamored by these stories of the Doctor and Ruby and Unit, and so he thinks like that's how I can impress her. If I'm like the Doctor, then I will win her heart. So
yeah, I love that. And do you know what? I don't know if anyone's seen it, but on Instagram, the writer Pete McTee, who I think would be a really good showrunner for Doctor Who.
I agree.
Do you know what he also said? It's not spoiler because he said it in his Instagram post. that they're from another dimension, these creatures.
Yeah, I saw that as well, actually.
Yeah, so that gives me implications on what you said, Mason, and what you said, Joshua, that it's definitely going to lead into the finale, very much so. Because if they're from a different dimension, who on earth is opening that portal?
Yeah, how would they
Yeah.
get across? That
How would
is
they
it's going to be
cross?
quite interesting to find that out.
They look scary though, those monsters.
I've not actually seen them yet.
He could be like the junior division of Linda.
Yeah.
They look. The monsters look a bit like the monsters in Father's Day, a tiny little bit.
So wait,
Ah.
Shriek. Is
Yeah.
that what?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
Shriek. But if you saw the next time trailer, they
Now
look
I
a lot with Dot and
wonder.
Bobble.
Well, I
Mm,
suppose-
Now I'm wondering, because a lot of the teasers are indicating that unit are keeping monsters in their vaults. What if they catch a Shriek while they're on a mission, and they keep it caged up so that they can get more intel and info about it?
What if so I don't know if you guys have heard the Unleashed clip of Comrade talking on the podcast with Ruby. There was a tiny little clip, which I've actually recreated myself, being on the podcast. Which I'll share that soon. I think you think that he's talking about the TARDIS, don't you? You think he's talking about the TARDIS in that small clip. I don't think he is.
I honestly think he's talking about unit,
I said, Josh.
because in that little because when they revealed the title, there was news articles about unit. Are they hiding alien artifacts? Are they hiding aliens in their HQ? So I think that Conrad is asking Ruby about being inside unit.
Yeah, I think that, and I agree there. I do think Comrade is trying to get into unit to expose them. And
Yeah.
I think you're going to try. I think you'll get a doctor. I think Comrade will be trying to play as the Doctor in this episode because the Doctor's in parts. I think this episode will be very back and front, so you'll be getting little adventures. So I think we get an adventure with Ruby and the Doctor, which hopefully is between Space Babies and Devil's Cord, explaining that 6-month gap. So
Yeah. So
hopefully.
Well, I suppose
Conrad is essentially our pseudo doctor in this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Lua, again?
I suppose if there's a giggle, then there could be a shriek.
Yeah.
Like these things could be like the beasts of the pantheon, like just the cannon fodder.
And Ruby does say that they like the taste of fear
There you
as
go.
well. So.
They said as well in this season that they were going to exploring Ruby Sunday's PTSD. So, like what you said, Lua, about how, and you, Joshua, as well, about how beautiful they've been using, disability representations in there. I wonder if they're going to do the same with obviously mental health representation, because PTSD is not a subject you should be looking lightly. Just for a little character boost, you need to do your research. You need to make sure you're on the right track of how PTSD is looked at. So in my head, I'm thinking throughout season 1, I love Ruby as a character. I think she's such a refreshing character. And obviously she showed so much compassion and love towards the Doctor. I wonder what makes her think throughout this whole year that, gosh, that time was so mad. I wonder what's going to be the clicking point.
Yeah.
And what did they ever explain the snowflakes?
No, I think they're going to come back.
No, they didn't.
Mm.
Will
Because
come back. I think that's a whole. I think that's got to do with like Mrs. Flood or the Trickster.
because
Mm.
Mrs. Flood was at the
Also,
very last shot, the
You've just
snow.
reminded me. No, sorry, I'm so sorry. I just need to point something out. Actually, I
Okay.
completely forgot this point. This is another flashing post moment. Something very important happened in the Empire of Death that nobody picked up. Nobody picked this up, and it absolutely blew my mind. So, in the Ministry of Health building, when they go to get the information about Ruby's lineage in the Roger App overthrow, something happens to Melanie. Can someone tell me what happens?
Doesn't she go cold and then sort of turn into one of Sutek's disciples?
Because she was already
Yeah.
one of them before, wasn't she?
Yeah.
She was already one of them before. So why would that need to be? We all saw it as a kind of thing of like she was cooking to final stage. But what if that wasn't the case at all? What if the
Yeah,
snow
I mean,
was protecting Ruby? Haven't
Yes.
thought about that now, have they? Because now you really need to pay attention. The highlighted area around Melanie where she stood is completely acute with ice, and it is like the coldest area. So the snow targeted Melanie. It was like, no, you are not getting to her. And that's why it was like it was almost freezing Sutek, like slowing it down so it could give them enough time. And who would want that? Mrs. Flood.
That is honestly, I love these little details because I really like
honestly, your theories blow my mind.
blows Russell T Davies' mind.
Can I add something? I want to
Yes.
add something. Do we
Go.
remember when Ruby was in the dome on her own? Like in the, I think it was the Empire of Death, when all the events of it are
That's
going on,
Yeah,
and
and the door's closed.
yeah, the doors closed on her, and nothing happened.
Mhm.
Nothing happened, and then, but when the Doctor's in there at the start of the sequence, stuff happens. So I do think that it all goes back to Ruby, doesn't it? Because what's the point of her being in it?
Can I add something on to your adding on?
Yeah.
It would also make exact point as to why the Masters crescendo was there in the music. And because everyone was going, why is that there? Like, you know that bit when it started snowing in the time chamber?
Oh, yeah.
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 As it was building up to Sutek. Yeah.
And everyone was kind of going, but that's the Masters song. That's the Masters theme.
Yeah.
Why is that there?
Yeah.
So potentially, if Mrs. Flood has something to do with the Master, then that could be evidence as to do something with all of that. But
You see, now I'm wondering if she somehow picked up if she somehow picked up the Toymaker's gold.
that was definitely Mrs. Flood.
I'm convinced that that was Mrs. Flood. Yeah.
Definitely was. Definitely was. Now we know
No, it was Cherry Sunday.
that.
Or did I take-
I'm gonna get that cup of tea.
No, come on. But I do think all this comes back, and it has to come back because what's the point if Ruby's back, right? What's the point? What's the point in her being back if none of that is gonna come back?
Do you know what I think as well with Ruby Sunday? So let's say you are just from an external point of view, you're watching this 5 years later, all the stories being wrapped up. Russell T Davies is no longer showrunner, and you're watching these episodes for the first time. You go from the church on Ruby Road to Space Babies, and then after they go to the Devil's Cord. And she made that really clear comment saying, the doctor said, "Oh, what time were you at again?" "Oh, I think it was like May, June, July time." Obviously, they wouldn't have been it. We would have clocked that on because obviously we follow the same time frame. But for people that are going to watch this in the future, they're not going to clock that on so much. But I bet you Russell T Davies, now it might not come to fruition, but if the reality war is the final, it is the final episode. But I do believe that there is some reason as to why there is a time period skip going on here, because it's too evident. Russell T Davies is too good to write stories like that just to do time jumps, because it's evident that in season 2 he knows how to write structure, he knows how to write character arcs and character driven stories. There is something with Ruby that even Ruby doesn't know.
Yeah, dude. This is right.
I still can't
down.
put my finger on it, but yeah,
trickle back on my TikToks, right? I know in the time chamber window we are not done. We are not done in there. Mason said something about obviously when the doors closed, right? That's a good point. But I'm not I'm not just talking about that. I'm talking about the entire reconstruction of the VHS tape. We're not done with that.
We didn't see all of it.
We didn't see all of it, but also it's almost as if there was Russell T has been playing the long game with us the entire time. As you say, Devil's Cord and Space Babies has got a 6-month gap between them, perfect enough space for Lucky Day's duration to happen and all of those stuff. That he has been doing this perfectly. Now, if we look at how this would all come back into like the VHS tape stuff, if it was the trickster, potentially, that's what I believed. There is the information in that VHS tapes is like a trifle of how the narrative goes. You've got the Legend of Ruby Sunday storyline information that we have is obviously the Doctor showing up in the TARDIS. The woman shows up, leaves the baby, points at Ruby Road. You've got that, right? But then there's other elements which still don't make sense. Why was the woman shadowed, for starters? That still was never explained.
Do you know what never was explained either?
The sign, the fact that that was there and it was never there as well.
Not
That's
just
You know what I just thought?
done. It's not done. It's not done.
You know what it is? It's the Midnight Entity. It's a shadow, right?
But do you know what they haven't touched on yet? And they made it very clear in Space Babies. My memory keeps changing.
Yeah, exactly.
It keeps changing really fast, doesn't it? And I also want to just sort of point this out. I pointed out a couple of weeks ago, but Jack's here and he might not have heard it. 6-month gap, Space Babies to Devil's Cord, right?
Yeah.
What happened in the Robot Revolution? Can anyone say what happened in the Robot Revolution?
There was obviously the time fracture.
There was a time fracture.
Yeah, 6 months. 6 months. The Doctors was there 6 months.
Yeah.
So there's obviously the 6 month, something about 6 months.
Well, no, the whole thing that Ruby and Belinda are living the same life.
Yeah.
They are living the same recipe.
And the transitions between the cloves as well are identical to Devil's Cord.
And also, Similin is also a recipe name as well. I should just like to point out.
Yeah.
It's not in the real world, Similin is actually an ingredient.
Oh.
Like,
I think how to get the first 15 rated Doctor Who episode.
in Lux, you obviously had that changing of clothes with the song that sounded, but it was like a lot similar to what happened in Devil's Cord with the changing of clothes, and we have continued that changing of clothes, which I actually quite like. I like.
Yeah.
That's what's kept happening, and I think we'll have a healthy gap now with Lucky Day.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is a reason why everything's so similar. There is a reason why people think Susan Twist is a little bit like Miss Flood. We haven't seen the last of Mrs. Susan Twist. That we haven't seen the last of her. She was announced before this series to be in this series, so I presume that's the finale. I don't. She might be in the next episode, but we'll have to wait and see. But I presume that these all dots to be connected. Susan Twist isn't a nobody who just is a tea person now. There's a reason. There is a reason why she was Sutek's like Dominion, whatever she was. So it's all going to come out in the end. But the only thing it's all nice and well for this to happen, right? All this to be one story, which it probably is. But the only downfall to that is last year the Doctor Who wasn't as like most of us here I've said, or most of these episodes we've liked a bit more than maybe the sequence of last year. Like a lot of us preferred the Robot Revolution to Space Baby. So the only downside to that is you're maybe not going to get all your viewers back after maybe the disappointment in the finale from last year. You're not going to get them back. So that's the sad thing about it. That I normally like. I normally like in a series that everything to be resolved in that series, which Russell did in his first tenure. So like in like the first series, you had a Rose story that finished in that series. But what looks like is happening here is it just does not finish in that first series, but it continues on in the next.
The way I sort of try to look at it, and this is what I did with Series 1, is that because we kind of went for this whole reboot, reset in Doctor Who.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of people, I presume, would have started watching it for the first time. I've tried to put myself in the shoes of somebody who was watching it for the very first time and was completely new to Doctor Who.
Yeah.
If you watched that ending, Empire of Death, and you weren't a diehard Doctor Who fan like we are, you're watching the show for the very first time, would you have still come back for season 2?
That's a good question.
It is a good question.
That is a good question.
I think, I suppose, from bias level, you're always going to say yes.
Yeah.
But if it helps as well, I watch Doctor Who as well with my parents, and obviously they're casual viewers, so they clearly they're Whovians as well, but they watch it with casual eyes as well, so they're not going to get all these references.
Yeah.
But I was watching the 2-part finale with my mum and dad, and as soon as the episode started, from The Legend of Ruby Sunday all the way to the end of Empire of Death, my dad was like, oh my god, that was utter brilliant.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
So part of, I think what's going to happen is this era at the moment is going to be hugely controversial, but I think over time it's going to be remembered quite fondly.
I think it will age well.
So.
Yes.
When is Doctor Who not controversial? Controversial.
Definitely.
Yeah. But Lua, I can see you're pulling faces. I want to see what you want to say. I feel like something's coming. What is it?
I think I've just realised something huge. I think I've just realised something absolutely huge that's been staring us in the face all the time. Right.
Here's Russell.
If
Come on,
I'm
Russell
right
Jr.
about this, no, if I'm actually right about this, I am so sorry. No, this goes back to my training, right? Okay, so in Greek theatre, when it comes to story structure, Jack, I'm sure you're aware of this, there were certain rituals and traditions that you would have to do to make sure that every theatre story was told correctly. So you would have to have 3 songs, 3 dances, a death, a life, ingredients to the story which made it perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now here's where it gets interesting. One of my favorite stories in the compendium of the Greek stories is the tale of Kronos and the flood of oblivion.
Oh.
Interesting title. I like that.
And that is when Kronos, and we have got Kronos in the Doctor Who universe as well already, classic villain, could use a Mrs. Flood of Oblivion.
Oh.
Oh, Lua. What have you done?
What I hear,
Oh boy.
was phone pinging. It's Russell T Davies.
No, honestly,
Oh
no,
boy.
because if the flood of oblivion has to be, it's a recipe. It's an amalgamation of information that you have to do certain things in the story for it to happen. And if Mrs. Flood is the oblivion character in this, like fairy godmother, making sure that Belinda and Ruby's stories are exactly the same. Like certain things happen, she could be the herald of Kronos,
Oh,
the god of all gods.
oh my
So
God.
Ruby's the god of all gods.
I'm not gonna have any brain matter left by the end of this podcast.
I mean, that would be such a twist, no pun intended. Warrant that song.
I need to do a little. It's like, sorry, let me have a quick look into some.
Oh,
Hang on.
I love your knowledge over like Greek mythology as well. Like you're really taking that on board. And it clearly shows that you get it right.
I had to study it. I had to study it. This is the thing. Right, here we go. Various mythologies, the Berosus Babylonian flood story, Kronos is identified as a dream.
oh no, the plot thickens.
Warning a hero about an impending flood. And the character's name is Xisuthros. And the character was a politician in the story.
Oh my god.
What have we done?
This flood is not a person. It's a certain point in time where the events flood to make way for the other gods.
Ooh.
And
But
we
you're
know
right.
that the
Well-
character has been described as an almighty terror. So an almighty, a godly terror.
And what did Mrs. Flood say at the end of season 1? He's in for absolute terror.
And yeah, the story ends in absolute terror.
It makes sense because they're having the same life, just a bit different.
Wait, can someone tell me what Kronos did in the classics one? Because I can't remember that one.
I don't remember.
I don't know the story.
I don't know the story.
Let me because
Which doctor did it appear with?
it was a Tom Baker one, I think. Was known as a chronivore, an eternal god, so a time god. Place of origin, the time vortex. Children, Poseidon, Zeus, which rooted itself into that.
I type it in.
Kronos-
I type it in, and just Avkalos comes up.
We need to type
Oh,
in
God.
Kronos. A
Ah.
species of extra-dimensional.
All right, it's from all right, it's from the Time Monster.
Yeah.
It's a John Pertwee one.
with the Greeks in Atlantis.
Apparently so, yes.
Yeah, the time monster. Which looks like a bit like a it's got wings.
The gods' early ancestry were confused, but certainly involved the primordial entity of chaos.
Oh,
I'm not touching this anymore. I'm not
I was
actually
going to say, we are just
anymore.
going to unpack the
I'm
whole.
not touching that anymore. No, sorry, that's getting too close to home.
Yeah.
Not. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry if that is correct.
Oh God, imagine.
Yours in my head right now.
I don't-
Russell T. Davies going, it's bad, it's bad, it's bad.
I don't want to read this anymore. Hang on.
Yeah.
Involved the primordial entity Chaos, the goddess Gaia, Gaia's daughter Tethys, Tethys's daughter 3 daughters, Malice, Mischief, and Mayhem.
The threefold deity.
But suspected they had forgotten certain details for good reason. Their genealogy also tended to change over time, so gods sometimes had multiple contradictory relationships. Ah.
But they're against each other.
Maybe.
The 8th Doctor believed that the Titans had descended into tiny creatures and lived in the volcano.
Brr.
Do you what we see in Wish World? The skeleton dinosaur.
Yep. And then also these creatures, they then instead evolved an ability to move through time, mostly sailing through the time vortex. We've heard sailed through the time vortex as well this season's, haven't we?
Holy shit.
Goblins sail the ravages of time.
Oh my god.
Right. All I'm going to leave it at, if you want to add a video, I'm going to say one word: Chronovore.
Let's make this video go viral, guys.
Chronovore.
Do you know what? The way this is going, Russell T Davies is going to end up giving Lua a job as like writing the Doctor Who episodes.
Or,
I want him as a consultant.
Honestly, like that. No, honestly, if the Pantheon's god, it does make sense for the god of all gods to be Kronos, because in Greek mythology, the god of gods is Kronos.
Yeah.
If you
And
get
it's a
this
very
right-
big fashion. No, it's a super big fashion in contemporary writers today that they serve the principle of Greek theatre. It's a huge fashion thing in TV and theatre today. So Russell T Davies would want to do that for Doctor Who, and if he did that,
Hmm.
that is just it would make seasons 1 and 2 so connected.
Yeah.
And if that were to happen, James, this is where I want to ask you a question. Would Empire of Death, the finale, would you look at that better on reflection if this all came true?
Yes, certainly. If that's how it all came through, then absolutely, I wouldn't completely change my mind on it, because ultimately, again, I still try to look at it from the perspective of we're always going to stick around to find out the end of the story, but not everyone is. And so for me, certainly, it would make it a lot better. I would have just wished, in an ideal world, hindsight is a wonderful thing, that they had maybe left a little bit more to sort of keep people intrigued about the next season, or just do you know what I mean? I feel like Empire of Death seemed to dampen a lot of people's excitement going into this season. I think that's changed now that season 2 has started, but I don't know if you guys got the vibe that the excitement and the atmosphere around Doctor Who building up to season 2 wasn't anywhere near as people didn't seem quite as excited as maybe they had been for previous years.
I think that's also to do with that season 1, regardless of the 60th anniversary, it was the beginning of a new era, so there was always going to be that excitement as well. And with season 2, now that you know what you're expecting, I think it's natural instinct that you're not always going to be. Lua, you look as though that you've just clocked something on. Are you okay?
I'm just doing safety checks in my own head if that would actually make sense quickly.
Because your face was like
I have something to say.
I don't think there's some gaps. Yeah, go on, Mason.
I said this to James yesterday, and this is called Series 1 last year. This is Series 2, right? And it's supposed to be a new era,
Yeah.
where we're focusing on new things, right? Is that what a new era stands for? So it's a new warmth of life. So which could be so confusing to the new generation of kids. So, for example, maybe speak about what the Doctor was talking about in the first place. The Rani he mentioned, the god of Ragnarok he mentioned. He mentioned a load of different things as soon as meeting Ruby Sunday. That would be quite going back on the new era kind of thing, wouldn't it? Talking about things that have happened in the past. So when that happened, I thought, hang on a minute, why is this called Series 1? Why we didn't just call it Series 14 and not gone into this new era kind of thing? Because we brought back Sutek, right? for a new
Yeah.
audience. We've brought back the Midnight Entity for a new audience. We've brought back well, my show's new, but we keep bringing stuff back, and then we claim that this new era is new. Really, it's not, is it? Because we're bringing back creatures that we've seen, like the Sutek's been brought back. So really, for people getting because there are new people who are watching Doctor Who on Disney Plus, right? That are quite new to the show. They think I saw when the 60th anniversary specials came on, Disney called it Special 1, Special 2, Special 3. In that context, I saw people on TikTok saying, "Oh, I can't wait to watch a brand new show, Doctor Who," right? And I'm thinking, that's not new. It's new series. It's new era. Supposed to be new era. But that's what the confusing context is. As soon as the Doctor sees in Space Baby, he goes on the tangent, right? Not everyone. That's not for a new era, and I think that what could be slightly the problem, in a sense, with viewers bringing the new viewers in. They don't want to be there because they're going too far back, and we're not focusing on this new era enough. We're going.
Yeah.
I think there's a counter argument to that. I mean, first of all, I think the reason why it was called season 1 and season 2, I personally think that's probably more of a Disney thing.
Yeah, it does
into
seem
that.
that way.
But also in relation to the whole thing about bringing back or having callbacks to some past characters, and obviously Doctor Who is a show about change and like new eras. It's good that we're getting new characters and stuff like that, but there is a fine line between you've got to be really careful because change is good, bringing in new characters as well. But if you change it to the point where there's not like a little hint of familiarity to the show's history, then you then at that point sort of almost lose the identity of the show. I think you've got to it's got to be a balance. I think that we've had lovely new characters come in. We've had a lot of characters that have been modernized from the classic series, which I think is great as well. I think it was good that they sort of brought up characters like the Rani and stuff like that, because there's going to be the people who are really interested are going to go and probably like sort of delve a little bit deeper into that and sort of find out. They might not necessarily go back and watch classic episodes, but they'll look up the characters at least. I think you've got to keep some familiarity there in order to not lose the identity of the show, because one of the big criticisms I had of Series 11 is that it was so different that it almost felt like you were watching a completely different show entirely. And I think that if you're not careful, you could end up doing that. And I think so far they've got quite a healthy balance between bringing in new characters, bringing in a little bit of a new feel to the show, but at the same time not neglecting the show's roots.
I agree with
there's that sense of ownership, isn't there?
Yeah. I think.
Yeah, I agree.
I do agree there. I do feel like though, but in the context, what I was saying, I do think it's good to do this, to bring back the old ones, but I just feel like identifying the new audience in a certain way, which that they could tell them a bit more understanding, because with the Doctor we get this ongoing kind of thing, like Gallifrey's gone, Gallifrey back kind of context, and I think it's good that we're actually staying in. It's been dead, I think, since the 13th Doctor's era, hasn't it? So
Yeah.
I think it's good that we're weighing away from that, because I do think Gallifrey has been used a lot, especially in New Who. It's just always been in every series, hasn't it, more or less?
You know what Russell T Davies also said? It was a while ago, so I wouldn't be surprised if you guys forgotten about it. But I remember very, very vividly that Russell T Davies said that Series 2 would make notes to, or would focus a lot on the Timeless Child as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
saying that, and I don't know when it was, and I don't know how it can, but whatever it is, it's
Yeah.
certainly going to warrant why Disney Plus or BBC would want to show this at the cinema again, because lest we forget as well, that made money at the cinema.
I'm just gonna put something out there. Susan Foreman, that all wasn't for nothing. That teasing for her return, it wasn't for nothing.
Yeah.
I personally believe, right? Belinda could be a regeneration or a bi-generation of Susan or someone else. I don't think you can do that. I don't think you could tease die-hard Doctor Who fans, especially if you're going all the way back to where that's where Doctor Who started with Susan. You can't do that and just let it just oh, it's nothing. So I do think someone has to be there of that.
I think as well that if, let's say, to go under the impression, I'm just saying it's not, but let's say this is the reality was going to be the regen episode. Let's just say it is, you know, and last season we were going back all the way to the 60s of, you know, Susan Foreman. You know, it wouldn't surprise me if, you know, where was the first Doctor when he regenerated? In the 10th planet.
Wonder.
He was in a place where it was snowing. What's Ruby leaking onto a lot lately, which hasn't been resolved yet?
Oh.
The
Let
snow.
it snow, let it
Oh.
snow, let
Let
it
it snow, yeah. So it wouldn't surprise me if the reality war is about, and even Russell T Davies stated this about with By Generation. He said that he wants to create a multiverse. Now it hasn't been fruition. It was just a rough idea that he threw out. But it wouldn't surprise me that the reason why he's introducing these time fractures is because time itself is changing, and in doing so, things that are happening in the past are now leaking out into the present world. So the reason why Ruby Sunday is, going back to your idea of Susan, the reason why Ruby Sunday is leaking out, you know, snowflakes dropping everywhere is because it's where the first Doctor regenerated.
I love that.
That's a lovely theory.
That is a really good theory.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's a stretch. It might not happen, but
Yeah.
you never know.
Yeah, Russell, don't cry him on that.
Hey, that's just me saying, final warning. I'm going to be like, look, it's such an honor for you to say that to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we finish, because we could go on for much longer, but I do feel we've gone on for quite a long time. But I want to just ask one more question.
And it's midnight as well. What are we talking about?
Yeah. We've got past midnight, yeah, and we spoke about midnight. I do just want to cover Mrs. Flood lastly. I know we've been speaking about Mrs. Flood, but I just wanted to cover Mrs. Flood is going to appear in Lucky Day, right? So, do we think Mrs. Flood is going to appear as Ruby's neighbour again?
Yeah, I think
Good
that'll be
opportunity.
It's a
I think so.
possibility, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some correlations with that. I think with Mrs. Flood as well, because bear in mind, lest we forget as well, we're going back to, you know, Earth again, and we don't quite know where this all sits. I think it's going to be well before May 24th. So all of this will still be a past type episode. This will still be before May 24th, because
Yeah.
I don't see how this is a continuation from May 24th. This has to be before.
I do think it'd be interesting how the episode starts, because I do think we will see the Doctor and Belinda properly. It would be nice to see the context after, like they have been. Maybe start with the Doctor and Belinda in the TARDIS, or something again. But I don't think they will. I think this is going to be a Ruby-centric story. But I do think we'll get the Doctor and Belinda in places, because of course we see the Vindicator again. So
Yeah. I love the look as well with where he stumbles across, I think it's the young boy. I don't want to say if it's young Conrad yet, because we don't know, but it could be. But
it looks like him.
it looks like him, and that look that the Doctor has on there, personally, I'm loving how he's giving different vibes, and this vibe in particular. Oddly enough, in episode 4 in 73 Yards, he wore, I forgot what it was, he wore that thing on his head. He's doing exactly the same thing in episode 4 for this season.
Oh yeah, I didn't clock that with the hat. Yeah, it's the same type of hat, isn't it? Just a different colour.
It's just unfortunate that people online are seeing similarities and think, oh, that's lazy. Well, no, there's a reason.
Anything to
By
like
design.
anything for the clickbait, isn't it? Yeah.
Picture thing,
Yeah.
really. Can
Yeah.
I also just throw in one little thing as well? I read a little bit further on about this potential Kronos thing.
Hmm.
Another account of Kronos, and this is in the Hooniverse as well. This is in the Hooniverse. Kronos was the offspring of the Chronivore known as Prometheus. Now that's also similar. Prometheus and Kronos, Prometheus and Zeus were brothers. Well, it makes sense actually, yeah. Anyway, at the moment of birth, Kronos was imprisoned in a crystal and was cast down into the ephemeral universe. Eventually, the crystal landed on a planet of the constructors of destiny.
Ooh.
And the whole of last series was Destiny, wasn't it?
And then also, if we really want to go full RTD Arkle canon, this could be the impending factor of why the Doctor and Donna kept meeting.
Wow.
Destiny.
I
Yeah,
have to be honest, that would make a lot of sense. I love the
Yeah.
explanation of why the 14th Doctor got his face back, but I have to be brutally honest, I was expecting a little bit more.
yeah. And
So-
didn't
Yeah.
I still don't think we're done with that.
No.
I think that ultimately what's going to happen at the end of this and like how we're going to find out how this is all going on, I think it's going to go all the way back to the regeneration from 13 to 14. I think that this is all going to tie in together somehow.
Mason, did you say that the demons were meant to be in this series as well at some point?
The demons.
Yeah,
The demons of what?
like the Daemons.
I'm not sure.
I swear I saw something because there's also an account here that Kronos also visited the Daemons, and I heard that there was meant to be some mention of Daemons in this season as well.
I haven't heard anything.
I've never heard of that.
Okay, that could be at least one. But still,
Yeah.
Again, like
That's
creatures of this episode.
So the reality war is a reality of war, and the time war. I think the reality war could be much bigger than the time war because reality is so many different realities, right? So
Yeah.
what if the 14th Doctor returns? What if the bi-generation's a myth? This could be nothing, but the bi-generation is supposed to be a myth. What if they have to go back to fix it?
That would be-
be something, yeah.
It would be, and I think the thing is, though, with bi-generation, I think Russell T Davies, I think he did that as a one-off because
Yeah.
even though he even said it in the Unleashed episode about the giggle that he was sarcastic saying, I know Doctor Who fans love change, they absolutely love it. I think he did that purely because he wants just to put a little bit of extra spin on regeneration. So I don't think we're going to touch bi-generation again.
Yeah.
But I do agree that I think the one person we will be seeing again, considering that he has been mentioned a lot and he's been given so much, nasty memories for the Doctor, and that's the Toy Maker. I do think the Toy Maker is going to make some
Yeah.
form of
Yeah,
I
definitely.
agree.
Oh yeah.
I'd love to see
the
that.
entire arc will be iconic.
I just realised one other thing. Wasn't there a rumour saying that John Pertwee's son has been
Yeah.
involved?
Yeah, I remember that last year.
Well,
I
hang on. Then,
Oh yeah.
if that was true, but we got it wrong for the wrong series, then wouldn't that really be a perfect linkage for Shooty, John Pertwee, like the Third Doctor, and the Time Monster?
Oh my God! Imagine that.
Mm.
That
Yeah, that would make
That
sense.
would be.
Like, because there were
That
reports,
would be insane.
there were the reports, weren't there?
Yeah.
considering
Yeah.
that they've been hiding that the Well was a Midnight sequel. Nothing you can never say never to anything now. Everything's a possibility.
Yeah. True. True.
Yeah. There's so much.
we've had so much in 3 episodes already. We've had Hoovians in Lux. We've had the Midnight Entity back in the well. We've had so
Yeah.
much already in 3 episodes. I wonder what is in store genuinely for the reality war.
We'll have to
Yeah,
see.
same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, each week we come back and we delve in and we discuss what more theories we have. But I think those theories there is really, really good. I feel like it's a really a huge possibility that that could happen. But this could go so many ways. We just don't know. Like it could that could happen. Something else. Like you've got so many possibilities.
It could be the frog.
Yeah, you could have
Oh
the
my
frog
god,
back.
it could be.
Yeah.
Imagine
Right.
Broke up with me.
Yeah.
You left me.
I mean, I just laughed when I saw that frog for the first time. I was hilarious. On that chair.
Everyone would just literally be looking at their TV like, Chib, no!
God damn you, Tibbers.
Every single time, it just reminds me of the scene from Shrek 2 when like Fiona's dad gets turned into a frog.
Yeah, you got the Muppets as well.
You've never seen me like this.
Yeah. But before we finish this episode, guys, is there any other thoughts or any other last minute theories that you have?
I got
Me, personally, I actually don't. This is one of the episodes of the series that I can't say I know an awful lot about or like
Yeah.
have much of a theory, but I think I'm going into this episode quite blindly. I mean, I think it's quite not obvious, but I think we can come up with a good idea of what Conrad's going to be and what relevancy he's going to have,
Yeah.
and what's going on with Unit. But I think other than that, the rest is quite open, really, for me.
I'm all
I'm going to be pleasantly surprised.
yeah, I'm all theoried out right now.
Yeah. I'll just add one last. I'll let Jack go and then I'll go.
I was just going to say, my last question was just for you guys, just a simple yes or no. Do we think that series 2 is the last Doctor Who episode, last Doctor Who series? Yes or no?
I
Or
hope.
not enough?
I really hope not.
Because with the way people are talking about it, with the YouTubers, it's just utter ridiculous nonsense that they're talking about at the moment. I can't help but think that Doctor Who is beyond, season 2. I think they have loads of plans. I just don't think they just want to reveal it yet.
I think realistically, when it comes to the fans, like, I mean, the Whoniverse, and that goes with any TV broadcasting company. I think when it comes to, I don't think they really worry too much about the negative YouTubers. I think when they look into it, they just kind of go, oh, so, like, when it comes to praising it, any TV show would always go, we will accept if it was a letter to a YouTube video to a full-blown Times Guardian review. Wonderful, of course. Give us all the rep you want. But I think there is a certain evolutionary scale in bad reviews, because obviously if it was like in the Times, that would be damaging. If it was like on BBC,
Yeah.
it would be damaging. On YouTube, like, there's a reason it's on YouTube, because they could just upload it for free.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't think I think there's a difference in, like, I think the people who think that they're really hitting it hard, like these guys that go, Dr. Woke, oh, can't understand it anymore. Like, it's just terrible now. I think they think that they're really I think they think that they're plunging a broadsword into the show. Like, I think they think that they're really making it bleed, but in actual
When they're
fact,
really not.
it's like a little, oh, you little bugger, what are you?
I think people misread what woke actually means. They think woke means that it's the worst thing ever, but it's really not. Like
It's kindness.
Yeah.
yeah, Doctor Who has always been the same. But to answer your question, I don't think it is going anywhere, because I had a conversation with someone earlier and we were just talking about it, and they were saying this is the best Doctor Who's been in years. Why would they just get rid of it like that? And I agreed. I said, why would they put Doctor Who in the cinema then? If it's going to be the last ever episode, why would they do that? They wouldn't disappoint. All these million of fans are going to go across to the UK to watch Doctor Who in the cinema. They wouldn't do that. So I think what would be the perfect marketing from the Doctor Who team is if right at the end you have Miss Flood appear in the credits saying Doctor Who's back next year, guys. Don't worry, or something like that. Imagine if they secretly filmed it in a closed set, the whole of next series, or something like that. That would be
The
brilliant.
adventure's not over yet.
See you next time.
I think what I would say is that I don't think season 2 is the last season, but I don't think season 3 will be coming next year.
Oh no.
No.
I think there will have to be a little bit of a gap in order for season 3 to be
Yeah.
sort of filmed and sorted out and everything like that. Anyway,
And it makes me wonder if that is what's going on, then maybe the war between the land and the sea will fill that gap.
yeah, I keep thinking that this spin-off is going to be like a stopgap. It's going to be almost like a placeholder for where Doctor Who would normally, like, just to sort of keep the fans ticking over a little bit while they work on the rest of it. That's what I think's going on. I think I mean, well, I think Russell's already said that he's got all the ideas for season 3, 4, and even 5, but like they just haven't quite got round to it yet.
I don't. As much as I think that'd be brilliant, right? I don't think that will happen.
Yeah, but
And my reasoning for that is a few weeks or a month or two ago, or even a few weeks ago, they saw the trailer. I think it was one screening. Russell and a few others saw a secret trailer, and they announced, I think, that it will come out this year. So I don't think they'll go back on their word. I think it would be good for Doctor Who to actually not have a constant pressure to have a show out there. I feel like it would be nice to have that maybe gap next year, so they have more time and it's not a rush, because maybe series 1 and series 2 was a little bit of a rush for them to maybe equal all in one story. So yeah, I don't think Doctor Who will be on next year, but who knows? They might have tricked us, but I don't think that will happen, but we'll see.
I do worry, going from that memento, Mason, is I do kind of sit there and think, right, the worst case scenario in my mind, if we're all in the cinema, sat there watching it, knowing that we're not going to get it for a year potentially, right? If it is a regen scene, please do not do a cliffhanger regen.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Not do we would need to see the new doc, at least just an eye, like just the eye, something to keep, like, to go, who is that? Like, just a little something, even if it wasn't like
people
full face.
speculating.
Like, even if
Yeah.
you put a little bit of a tease, something like that, that would be nice. But please don't just go, he bursts and then it goes like that would kill me. I
Yeah.
think.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you there, Lua. I do think we don't want to see that. We at least want to see who it is, if that is the case. Or if they are planning on doing that, just don't do a regeneration yet. Like, just have a continuation or something where things could continue. So you don't have a regeneration at all. If Shooty is not going to be there, do it a bit like maybe just walking or something, saying we'll be back or something like that. If no decision is made yet, but I would predict by episode 5 they will know. They will know by episode 5, or they might even know now. But by episode 5, the story in the engine, they will know, because I presume episode 6, 7, and 8 are all going to be connected in certain ways, so they'll know.
Yeah.
Finale, they'll know what finale to go with. I hope they go with the cliffhanger one, where to be continued. I hope they go with that one. I hope that is the one they go for. But if they don't, we'll just have to wait and see. And whatever happens, we're going to enjoy it in the cinema.
Yeah.
I know we didn't maybe.
Oh yeah.
I know last year maybe wasn't the best experience of like the ending, but we still enjoyed it, right? We still enjoyed going to the cinema to see Doctor Who,
Yeah.
regardless.
Oh yeah, we
Yeah.
did.
So we know we're going to enjoy it. We're going to get that popcorn. We're going to get that Coke, and we're going to have a nice time.
Oh my god.
Thankfully,
Yeah.
it's not going to be at bloody midnight.
No.
Oh, that killed me. I had work the next day as well.
I had a nice, lovely lie-in. Yeah. We'll speak about the cinema more next time because we probably ought to get our tickets by then.
Yeah.
So we'll be talking about who got tickets first, who went up at 10 a.m. and got their ticket. But I'm just going to leave lastly on this, guys. Do not trust Comrade at any costs this week. He's not a person to be trusted. But if you want to trust him, you can. But yeah, don't trust Comrade.
Russell, it's okay. All
Yeah.
right.
We don't know anything, right? We don't know
Okay,
anything.
well,
But yeah, thanks everyone for today's episode. I feel like this might be our longest one. I'm not sure. I think this might be. But we said that last week, I think. But thanks to anyone who's tuned in this far. Yeah, some really good theories today. Thanks for Jack for joining us on today's episode. It was great to have you here, Jack. Hopefully you come back if you want.
Absolutely.
And yeah, we said that's Josh last time, and Josh is here. So it's brilliant.
hi.
Thanks for everyone for coming today, and we will see you next week when we'll be reviewing Lucky Day and we'll talk about the story in the engine. So see you next time.
See ya.